Fitz fam, welcome back. How are you guys? So good to be back with you guys. If you guys are watching live, hello, welcome. Let us know you're here by dropping a comment in the comments below and just saying hello. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you. I appreciate that. This is a live recording of the live Q&A we do most every Saturday from 10 to 12:30 Central. I typically talk about fencing content, whether it's running a business, marketing your business, that sort of thing. I also bring on guests from the industry to try to bring their expertise to the channel and answer the questions live that you guys have about building, growing, starting a fencing business, that sort of thing. If you guys have any questions, like I said, if you're watching live, drop them in the comments below. If you're watching on the podcast, or I guess you can't watch the podcast. If you're listening on the podcast, check us out live when you get a chance. Just search youtube.com/Joe Everest and you'll find me. Guys, how are you? How was your weekend? We have how was your weekend? I don't know. We're right in the middle of it, right? How was your week, I guess, is what I'm asking. Guys, today we have a heck of a guest. If you guys know exactly, read the description, you know exactly who's coming on. All jacked up. This whole week, it was a big week anyways, a short week for the holiday. Then my birthday was yesterday, but I can't be more excited all week long than I am right now because I'm bringing up the one, the only. I'm waiting till he gets done eating a bite. I'm waiting. Matt, are you ready? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up when you're Matt, how are you?
I am awesome. Hey, so I'm like, do you see? All right, so apparently you can see me, right?
Yeah.
I didn't realize you could see me. So one of my guys sent me a Snapchat that he was cooking breakfast for his kids, and I'm like, oh, please deliver. And I sent a picture of that I was here in the office. Yeah. So he literally just brought me pancakes and bacon. So I was like, oh, I saw the little countdown thing going on. I'm like, oh, I was shoveling it in. But I'm excited to be here with you, Joe. You know, I think I'm not going to kid you. I'm a little bit nervous because you are the fence expert, and I got syrup everywhere. I'm a hot mess.
Stick your fingers.
Hang on one second. Hang on.
Okay, you got it. Guys, while we're waiting for Matt, let's say hello to a few people. I see you guys already jumping in the chat. Stevie Boy Billings, good morning or good afternoon. You're there across the pond. Ray Milton's with us, and he says hello.
Hey, Ray.
Do you recognize this name? He's on the fence industry, but he's on a lot of these. He likes to comment. Roger Bentoncourt's here. He says, hi, Joe, and the rest of the Fence fam. I missed a few live streams. That's okay, Roger. We haven't kicked you out the Fence fam. You're still in. You're still in the Fence fam for sure.
It's tough to get kicked out, right?
I don't know of much of anybody that gets kicked out. That's once you're in, you're in.
It's a motley crew, I always say. The fence industry is a motley crew, but
isn't that the truth?
I tell you though, in the last 5 years, it has changed so much, and it's so much more positive, and people are supporting each other and helping each other. And I just think that the fence industry is really a small industry in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
And you know, with mySalesman, we know, I'm going to say 700-800 fence companies across the United States, and I'm telling you, it's so much fun to get to know, because now we've gotten to know them so well that they like send us updates of their kids and what's going on. And then I'm getting more and more people calling and asking, what are we doing with this? And what are we doing with that? And it's so much more, it's such a breath of fresh air to have the industry support each other so much better. And, you know, you and Sean King and all the great people out there that are on there, you know, Mark Olson down in Florida. I mean, everybody just doing a great job of sharing the wealth of knowledge that's out there. So hats off to the fence industry.
I tell you what, I'll give you we saw this in our local market when talking about it becoming more friendly, more helpful of an industry to each other in the industry. Right. So, you know, 10 years ago here locally, it was really, and I don't know about exactly 10, but you know, in the past it's been pretty, I don't know about cutthroat. No one really cuts each other's throats here, but no one went out of their way to help each other either, sort of thing. So we had a job. We were building 600 or 700 foot of softball, of 6 foot chain link at a softball field about an hour away from here this week. And the coach calls up. He's like, hey, you know how I told you we didn't want bottom wire because we didn't have bottom wire on the other fields? And I said, yeah, we give the option, but if you don't want it, that's fine too. He goes, well, We just got done playing at another field, and they had it, and we won it. So while your guys are here, could they just put that on? Well, they're an hour away, and they didn't bring me with them because we talked about not doing it. And I didn't happen to have 1,000 foot over here. Usually that's something we would bring in, like that 7-gauge V crimp. We'd bring it in as we need it, sort of thing. Right. And I said, well, let me call around. Let me see who's got it. So I called one of the competitors here and said, hey, so-and-so, I'll give him a shout out. It was Carnahan White here in town. I mean, so I called up Ken over there and I said, Ken, I'm in a bind. I need some 7-gauge V crimp. Do you have about 1,000 foot of it, 1,000 foot coil of it? And he goes, you know what? I think I do. We just got back from a job. We had a bunch of extra. I think I do. Let me check. So he calls me back, says, yep, I've got it. I just left it inside the gate. You can swing by and pick it up, that sort of thing. It's okay. Well, let me know what the total is. I'll bring you a check. And that way you don't have to process a credit card or anything. He said, you got a truck coming next week, don't you? I said, well, yeah, we got supply trucks every week. Said, put a coil on that next week and just bring it out and set it inside the gate. He goes, I'm not going to need this one in a week. No one will miss it.
Wow.
Hats off to Ken over at Carnahan White. I mean, but to your point, that may not have happened in the past, right? Where, the answer may have been, no, you know what? We're just flat out. And I don't know that. I don't want to say that about them because I don't know it, but we never felt comfortable making that call.
Right.
I think that's great.
We do that a lot here. I've gotten to know all the fence companies here in Lincoln and Omaha, and we really do treat each other pretty good. Matter of fact, we sometimes you'll lose a job and you'll see that somebody else will get it, and they'll call you up and they're like, "Oh man, that was a great bid. That was good. I mean, good friendly competition, and really is no hard feelings."
Because we each find ourselves in these situations occasionally. Right? Just unforeseen circumstances. I'll give you another one. So, and I understand how this mistake happened. So we had a gate. We were making a gate for a customer, and they wanted 6 5/8 bulldog hinges, or 6 5/8 bulldogs. Okay, it's not something we normally carry, 6 5/8, but it's on the product list. We're checking things off, make sure we had everything. The guys went down. They saw one up on the shelf, and in their mind, they thought where there's one, there's two. You buy them in pairs. Where there's one, there's two. Well, there was one. When the gate's done, we call the customer. We're pulling all the fittings because the customer's on their way, that sort of thing. The guys come back. They're like, hey, we only have one of these 6 5/8 bulldogs. Well, why don't we have two? Where there's one, there's two. And this guy's coming from probably an hour and a half, almost 2 hours away. Like, he is not going to be happy. So, again... So, in this story is about Carnahan White again. And I called and talked to Ken and said, hey, you got any of those 6 5/8 bulldogs? He goes, right. I don't know what. They must order like massive amounts because it was kind of the same thing. He's like, we just started resorting fittings that came back from a job. I think there's some of those in there. And it was anyway. So you find yourself in these situations, right? Where we should have gone initially. When the order was placed, we should have put our hands on 2 of them. That was a learning lesson. Right. Don't assume, because you know what they say about assuming, Matt? It's not a good idea.
Yeah. Well played. Hey, you said something interesting there that I've always had a hard time with in our company, and that is when materials come back. We have a hard time keeping track of those materials and how many we do have. Yeah. And a lot of times you get those onesie twosies and you sure as heck don't want to throw them away because now, especially if you bought them on a job, and now where do they go? And where do they go in the bookkeeping? Where do they go on the spreadsheet? Where do they go on the, we're getting ready to move. We just bought 3 acres. Actually, we bought 20 acres, but we're going to take 3 of it and make it a new yard. And we're getting ready to move everything. And I said, guys, listen, anything that's been sitting around for 7-8 years, we might want to try to have a fire sale and just not move it out there. And so they're like, hey, Matt, can you come and look at some of the stuff? So Scott actually went and looked at it for me. And then he's like, oh, my goodness, Matt, we've collected so much stuff over the years. A lot of it is just like a little scratch here or there, but golly, what do you do with all of it? And when do you just draw the line and say it's time to have a fire sale?
Yep. For us, that's ornamental panels. For whatever reason, we collect. Well, I know why, because we'll bring in 2 extra panels on a job for pretty much any job, because you get one that's skinned up, or the job grows. Like, how often does that happen where you get out there and they're like, well, I know we talked about it going here, but could it? It's easier to say yes, right? Say, you know what, we actually have an extra panel. But when you order 1 or 2 extra panels for every job, you do a handful of jobs a month. Well, all of a sudden you're sitting on a bunch of extra panels. Now, occasionally it lucks out to where we can use all of them on a job, but we have an orphan section where we have a rack built that kind of separates by height, configuration, all that. We do the same thing. We're about once a year. I get tired of looking at it. Let's sell them at cost. Let's get them out of here. I mean, they're in decent condition. Like I said, they might be scuffed, and then we can negotiate the price down a little bit from there. But here's the thing. My granddad taught me, as soon as you get rid of it, that's when you'll need it.
Every time. Every single darn time. Yeah. I will tell you, we are, we for the longest time, we even had trouble with temp fence. And I don't know if anybody out there has thing, but our temp fence was just coming back with weeds in it and all messed up and ties still on it. And it's just a hot mess. And, but we bought a fence winder and we started taking our time using a fence winder. It's a hydraulic fence winder. I don't know what the brand is. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Maybe Fence Hog or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I think they make one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it works really slick. And we finally got our temp fence where we do 75-foot rolls. That's what we decided that we like.
Yep.
And we actually have it all palletized and organized in 500-foot pallets. And we seem to be actually, 600 feet. We do 600 feet on a pallet, and it works out really well. And we finally got that under control. But man, I'll tell you, in the fence industry, as you grow, you start realizing that you don't want to throw this stuff away.
Right.
But yet, where do you put it? Because then all of a sudden it's taking up real estate, and now that becomes part of the problem. I think it's a real problem in there. But I just wonder if anybody out there has any great solutions.
So, that's funny, Matt. So it's funny how like fence is different in different regions. So down here, all of our temp fence is panels. We've got some fabric and driven posts, few and far between. Most of it's panels for whatever reason.
See, we keep about 60,000 feet at all times of chain link fence. So 11.5 gauge, just lightweight chain link fence, and we try to turn it about 3 to 4 times, and if we can get that 5th time out of it, then that's a really good money maker. That chain link really earned its keep, and then we try to constantly be replacing 3,000 or 4,000 feet every year is our goal.
Sure.
But as you grow, you tend to keep building your stockpile, and you're not replacing the old stuff. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, let's just use it one more time. And then it looks like crap. And you're like, oh, that wasn't good.
Well, what makes me nervous, so we don't have that much. I think I know we're right under 30,000 foot of panels that are just like out in the market.
Yeah.
Matt, what keeps me up at night is that if those came back to us at roughly the same time, we'd be stacking them on the roof or something. Like, I don't know where they would go.
Right.
And we're out. Like, we are out of stock right now. And so that's kind of the current conversation. And we're still getting calls for it, like 1,000 foot here, a couple thousand foot there. So it's like, well, okay, team, do we bring in we brought in a truckload, quick aside, they're not a sponsor or anything, but the Z&D panels, have you seen those?
Love them.
Yeah. We brought in a load from Master Halco, and great panels.
Yeah.
Like, really nice panels. But so we brought in a load, and I'm like, we got a good deal on them. And I brought them, and I was like, what are we ever going to do with all these panels? Which is the famous last words, because it took us about a month and a half
to deploy them.
They're gone.
Yep.
It's like, well, okay.
I'll tell you this. Z&D. Hey, Jamie. Z&D panels really are superior. I like them. Want to say hi to Joe? Hey, can we have another guest here?
Yeah, of course.
We're out live on Joe. So.
Did you get some breakfast there, Matthew?
I did. Look at Jay. Jay had some breakfast too.
Hey, morning, Joe.
Jamie, how are you?
Great. See how cool of a team we got here? That we got our own breakfast delivered to us.
I know. Hey, that's when you know you're living life right.
I mean, I didn't need it, but I certainly ate it.
Yeah, well, of course. Hey, Jamie, I've got to tell you, I love your Nebraska jacket.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
I saw that. Holy cow, it's a nice jacket.
Did you see the picture?
I did.
Okay,
I
so
did.
we went to Ireland, and I've had so many people say, "Man, doesn't it stink? You go all that way just to watch your team lose." And I'm like, you know what? No, because we had so much fun, and and Ireland is such a fun place to visit. I had no idea it was so awesome, and we drank a ton of Guinness, a ton of it.
I think we drank all.
I saw your stats on it, where you're just like, whoop.
But it was good. We had a lot of fun.
So fantastic.
And saw some great fences out there too. I saw that cool gate.
Yeah, that pallet fencing system is really taking off.
It's gone across the pond.
You know what? After we filmed that, Matt said Joe is absolutely going to love this. We did that just for you.
Yeah, we did that literally just for you.
I love it. It's taking off. I'm telling you, we got to patent it somehow. I don't know.
It started in Colorado, and now it's moved across the pond,
all the way, and probably everywhere in between. Honestly, I bet if we look hard enough, we could really find some more of it.
You know, so my 92-year-old grandfather, after I did the one in Colorado, he said, "Well, I kind of think you were making fun of them." And I said, "Actually, no, Grandpa, I wasn't. They used what they had."
Yeah.
And sometimes I think living amongst your means, whether you're a business owner or in life, if you can't afford a brand new picket fence, maybe you have to use pallets. Use what you. I mean, I admire that a little bit of live amongst your means. Same thing in business. Just because you can go buy a new truck and you have good credit to buy a truck, that does not mean you need to go buy a new truck.
That's the thing, is because I don't know who said, I don't know how to properly give credit for this quote I heard, but it was basically that cash flow covers a lot of sins. If with the correct amount of cash flow, you can get past that, which is okay in economies that are on fire.
Right.
Now, if you happen to find yourself in a cooling economy, cash flow is starting to pull back a little bit. I think it's going to expose a lot of that. I think there might be a lot of hurt in the market.
So we are very aware of what's going on across the country. And by all means, anybody that's listening, Joe, I'm not trying to scare anybody today, but I've talked to some people on the East Coast and the West Coast, and I got my first call from Tulsa that things are slowing down a bit in the residential market. And fortunately, I think that there's still a house shortage, so people are still going to be buying homes.
Yeah.
But if there's tight on buying a home, they might not spend that extra money on that new fence, right? Yeah. So we could be in a little bit of a downturn. Now, here's the good. Well, no, we are, right? Because we've had two quarters back to back that have been down, which is technically the term for a recession. Now, I don't want to scare anybody.
Yeah.
Not doom and gloom. But the good news is that I think that if we hit it now, and most fence companies out there have a nice backlog or have done a good job of their marketing and have done a good job of customer service of answering the phones, I think we're going to slide right through this. And by the second quarter of next year, it's going to be up again. So I really don't think it'll be a really cold winter. I use that as both in the terms that we're going into winter, but I don't think it's going to be a cold winter. But we are making cuts around here. We're looking at things and saying, do we really need to do that? Maybe keep on our cash a little bit. So my advice, and granted, our company is only 16 years old, so we haven't been around as long as some, but I'm also listening to people like Steve Bennett. Steve Bennett is a very good businessman. Bobby Batchelor is a very good businessman. Russ Kircher is a very good businessman. So I'm talking to these guys that have been into the industry for a long time. They're saying, just hold on to a little bit of cash. slide through this little bit. We've done this before. It's going to happen again. Be ready for it. And then when we get on the other side, push on the accelerator.
Yeah, stomp on the gas. So I was listening to an interesting podcast. So I'm a fence guy, right? But I like to listen to smart people talk. So and I'm turning it into my dad because it's an NPR podcast. It's called Planet Money. It's actually legitimately a really good podcast. But they were talking about, so GDP is down, but GDI, so gross domestic production is down, but gross domestic income is up. So in the Obama administration, they created a term which is GDO, which is just gross domestic output. And so that's actually like what the Brookings Institute watches and that sort of thing. Is kind of an average between the two. But so the gross domestic output is down, but not nearly as much. And so now they're thinking that GDP might not be the indicator to watch. Now, when we are a manufacturing country, you definitely want to watch GDP, right? Because it's how much stuff are you basically how much stuff are you cranking out and selling amongst the world or whatever, or just in general. But gross domestic output measures it also includes the gross domestic income, because we're becoming like a service-based, economy also. mySalesman is a great example, right? Like how do you measure the gross domestic product or production of what mySalesman produces? Well, there's not like a production number, right?
No, really, there isn't.
But there is an income number.
Oh.
So gross domestic income.
Good point.
So that's kind of the point of the Brookings Institute is the gross domestic output, GDO, gross domestic output, maybe the new number. And I say new, this is from the Obama administration, but anyway.
Yeah, I never really thought about that. Well, that's interesting. I'm going to do a little research on that GDO.
Still down a little bit, but like you said, I think the companies that prepare, so it's squirrels squirrel away nuts all through the summer, right? Yeah. When times are fat and they got nuts everywhere, they're squirreling them away because they know winter's coming. It comes every year, right? So the companies that did the same thing, that when the sun was shining, they're making hay, they're putting some away because they know winter's coming. Those are the ones that'll do all right.
Right.
But we had a team meeting. We have a team meeting at the end of every month. So this last one, so you start hearing, you start hearing whispers within a company, right? Like questions start coming up here and there because everyone's watching the news. Everyone's listening to the radio saying, hey, economy's cooling, businesses are going to start, feeling it and this and that. And so the questions are like, hey, we're okay though, right? Like kids are going back to school. Christmas is coming up. Like we're okay, right? We're not one of the ones they're talking about on TV, right?
Right.
And so in the meeting, I said, listen, guys, based on current payroll, we've got about 6 months of payroll set aside to where if we didn't sell a fence, we would be okay for about 6 months. Yep. Now, that's not taken into account. So dad's got a term, and who knows where he found it, but we could go buy some work too. Like we could maybe not take a loss, but maybe not take as much of a win either.
Sure.
Cover materials, cover payroll, cover overhead, but maybe not make as much profit. We could do that. And if we did that, we extend that timeline to 12 months to 18 months, maybe, depending on.
Sure.
So the company, to your point, the companies that kind of see this coming a little bit and have squirreled away a little bit, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I think so. And I think if you're aware of it, that's half the battle. So just be aware of it. And for the younger companies out there, they might actually be a blessing because it's easier. The smaller you are, the easier it is to just kind of tighten things up and run a lean ship. And, we've gotten to a size now where it's pretty tough to tighten it up. There's a lot of mouths to feed around here.
Absolutely. And that's one thing we're going to talk about. So we've got an advisory committee meeting.
Thanks for having me on, Joe.
Hey, thank you. It's good seeing you, Jamie.
Have a good weekend.
You too. One of the things we're going to talk about is maybe we implement like a 6-month P&L review where every 6 months, because that's what we're doing right now is our bookkeeper and I are sitting down looking at the P&L saying what's needed, what's not, right?
Yep.
Like there's some things you sign up for a free trial and then you had to put in a credit card and then you never do like unsubscribe from whatever that is, like I don't know,
Yeah.
a photo, whatever. How much of that's out there, right? How much recurring transactions that are below $100? Because that's what really I found those are the small cuts that can really bleed you.
Yeah, they really can. And I kind of try to do that every Saturday. I'm just looking here on my sheet. I kind of got some things that I do want to cut. I tried every Saturday. I try to earmark some things that are we using that tool properly? No matter what it is,
Sure.
including mySalesman. The last thing I want is somebody to sign up for mySalesman and not use it and it just be a burden on them.
Sure.
But if you're using it, it could save you a ton of money and time. So
that's a fair point, because that's one of the things we evaluate. Like that's in our office software line item on the P&L, and that's something that we take a look at.
Right.
Do we need this scheduling software? Do we need this or that or the other? mySalesman's in a pretty good spot with us though, because it's only a couple $100 a month or whatever it is.
Yep.
But we look at time savings. Okay, so if it saves half an hour per proposal, you know, and I think that's being very generous. I think it's actually probably closer to an hour. But if we just say it's a half hour per proposal, per week, per month, how much do we save? And if that number is more than $200, fine, done. It's making money for us, sort of thing. But there's these other softwares that, you know, what was, I don't know. It's like a photo editing that my sister had used because she wanted to do a mock-up of like a poster she was wanting to make. Well, it took a credit card to start the trial, and then she didn't realize she didn't cancel it in time, and she thought she was going to use it or whatever. It's $60 a month or something that just every single month. So what's that? $720 a year just goes away. I think we're going to have to figure that out. Like you said, I don't think this is a doom and gloom, dire conversation, but it is a good warning signal that, like, hey, like I said, cash flow covers a lot of sins. So figure it out now before maybe we get to a point in the economy years in the future where it does get really tight.
Well, and my advice has always been to other entrepreneurs that are starting out is, you know what? Whether we're getting into a recession or not, you should always be trying to make sure that you're tightening up things and that your accounts payable is staying under control. Your accounts receivable, AR, AP, and balance statement are the three things. And that's a little bit, I think you and I have talked about it in the past. I have a Friday report I do every Friday. And Sarah, Melissa, and Melanie, all three of them are for three different companies. They all send me a report. It all looks very similar, but I just have them tell me what they're doing, what's going on. And one big thing I look at is, are we staying on top of our receivables? Yeah. Is there a spike in our payables? And if there is, what is it and why is it? And why is it manageable? And then that darn balance sheet, folks, if anybody out there that's listening, if you don't understand how to look at your balance sheet and at least get a 1-2 punch of where you're sitting financially, you need to seek some help. There's some places out there. You know, Tony Thornton is doing some consulting now, and he is wonderful. And I highly recommend people. Matter of fact, he has a show. He has a thing coming up at Shangri-La.
Oh, well, so his Super Summit is coming up in October at Shangri-La. Yep.
You're right. Yeah, October. Sorry, I had a blank there. I couldn't remember what month it was. But yeah, middle of October there. I'm telling you, I went to it last time. I'm going to it this time. I do more of the culture talk.
Yeah.
But he reviews all that kind of stuff. And you shouldn't be embarrassed to ask for help. Anybody out there that's listening, I don't care if you've been in business for 1 year or a third generation. You need to understand that balance sheet, and you need to be able to look at it. And we do this cool little Friday report where I have them give me a couple sentences of what they're paying, what they aren't paying, if they had to use from the line of credit, because I do think that having a line of credit is very important.
Yeah.
If you don't have a line of credit, you should be talking to your bank about at least a little bit of a cushion there in case something happens.
Yep.
But we do this, and then what I do is Friday afternoon, I just give it a quick 1-2. Okay, yep, that's where it's at. And then on Saturday, I do a deep dive. I spend about an hour. Actually, I spent probably about 2 hours looking at all three companies, and that's what I was doing this morning before I got on with you. I just going through my line items. And
so let's do this, man. I want to say hi to a few people, but like say hello to people that are watching. Okay. But I want to come back to that. I want to circle back around to what do you look at? So as the owner of these companies, like what do you look at? What do you get involved in? And then what do you delegate out? Because I think that's an important part of this too, is knowing which hats you should wear and which hats you should pass off.
Right.
I want to say hi to a few people, but I do want to circle back around to that. Richard Camino says, good morning to you. Richard, good morning to you. Roger's always on top of this. Algorithmic announcement. Don't forget to hit the affirmation thingies. I think that's the technical term for it, actually. Affirmation thingies. Give it a thumbs up or a heart or a laugh or something, because, well, and this is if you're watching on Facebook, Facebook doesn't give any credence to the like button anymore, because everyone always says like smash the like and this and that. And it's too easy to click a like and keep scrolling. But if you hold the like down and you go to like heart or laugh or care or cry or whatever, they do give credence to that. They give a little bonus to you. So
nice.
If you're watching on Facebook, so let's see. 8 people are watching on Facebook. So if you're watching on Facebook, do the, as Roger calls it, the affirmation thingy. Uh-oh, Matt. We got to straighten it up.
Uh-oh.
The boss is here.
Hey, I haven't said anything yet.
No. Now, that being said, I know why she's here, Matt. We have made it known that there will be an announcement made later on. Now, I haven't been given marching orders as to what can and cannot. But
I have it written down. She gave me a stern talking to this morning, and she said, this is what you can say.
Yes.
This is what you cannot say.
Okay, good. Listen, because I know her well enough to know she's not scared to drive 6 hours down here and thump me if we make about. So, Rachel, I know. I'm just nothing that's not approved. Understood. Roger says, hello, Steve Boy Billings. Jeremy's here. Hello, Jeremy. So this is another. So Matt, last week, Jeremy was sharing with us. So she met up with Kenny Dugan, who you met at the last Springfield event.
Yep.
And Kenny's kind of taken her under his wing to show her what is what in the industry and help her get going.
That's awesome. So yeah, I like Kenny. Kenny's a good egg.
He really, really is. Jeremy says, happy birthday weekend, Joe. You're welcome. Hey, but here's the thing is I ran that past my wife about birthday weekend. Not a thing. That's not, because I was like, what's like my birthday weekend? Like I've got all these plans and that's not a thing. I don't know when you grow out of that, because I know for a fact my kids have that, but you grow out of it at some point. I don't know.
Can we just call it a birthday week then and use the entire week? I mean, that's different.
I could run that up the flagpole, so to speak. I don't know that's if weekend is a no, week might be. And listen, I'm saying this completely in jest, because tonight we're going to have dinner with some friends of mine that are really good. One of my best friends. And tomorrow, I think we're going back to watch the last Cardinals game of the season. So
nice.
This is actually technically birthday weekend. So awesome. Taylor watches this and she thumps me when I come home and I say stuff that's not good. So Taylor, please don't thump me when I get home. Stevie boy, I've got to tell you. Oh, happy birthday in Irish. Okay, got it. I should read these things thoroughly before I put them up here, because I was like, I don't know what that says. But thank you so much, Stevie boy Billings.
I do like Ireland.
Matt, hard-hitting questions. And now, I don't know if you're allowed to release this information, though. But what's the word on the pancake machine?
Okay, so we are. That's awesome, by the way. See, I love this.
Fantastic recall.
People are following us. So I'm a big fan of the pancake machine, and mostly because I can't wait to bring our people together and start Breakfast Club. But so get this, our new building that we're building right now, it's 200 by 80. It's got more fabrication for unlimited sports solutions. We're going to be making more foul poles, more backstop posts, and we make L screens for baseball, all that kind of stuff. Padding, baseball padding, football padding, all that stuff. But in that one area, I'm going to have a 50 by 80 area, and it's going to be opened hopefully on my birthday, which will be a birthday week.
Yes.
December 30th. We're going to try to have the old ribbon cutting, and I'm going to set down, and I'm buying myself a pancake machine for my birthday. And I'm going to set that down, and I'm going to hit that button. In 1 minute, I'm going to have an awesome pancake. So it's coming. December 30th is when I hope I get it. I am so jacked up.
That is so fantastic. You heard it here first. December 30th is the goal on the pancake machine.
I'll be 51 years old, and I'll finally have a pancake machine.
I think everyone needs it.
I
think everyone needs
so.
a pancake machine.
I love it.
Bam is joining us after the Stain and Seal show. Bam, welcome.
Bam, bam.
Uh-oh. I'm glad Jamie wasn't around to see this one.
Oh.
Jamie's messing up the video. Get him out of there. No way. No way. No way.
I love it.
Dan Wheeler, Fence fam. What is up, Joe and Matt? Good morning, Dan.
How you doing,
now,
Dan?
Matt, I don't know if so Dan Wheeler and then the Dan and Cannon show, they're having a contest, a showdown to see whose discount code could sell the most fence fittings. And Dan Wheeler walked away victorious.
Wow.
We're going to be cutting a check. And actually, I think it's probably cut. It's waiting for my signature. But let me see. I want to get this right, exactly who this is going to. I forwarded this information to our bookkeeper. Let's see. Dan.
I am been trying to find a spot where Dan and I are going to get together and talk a little bit too. So I gotta try to get that done the next week or two.
Absolutely. So it's going to the University of Iowa Children's Hospital.
Oh wow, that's awesome!
And then he sent me a video. Guys. It's the Iowa Hawkeyes' new tradition is more than just a wave. So the Children's Hospital overlooks the Hawkeyes. Yep. So now, like at a portion of the game, everyone like stands up, turns around, and gives them a wave.
I've seen that.
And I said, "Dang it, Wheeler! Now my eyes are leaking."
Yeah,
it's a heck of a story. It really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. And what a great thing for those kids to be able to see a little bit of that and watch it from up there. Yeah, I've seen that. I've always admired it. Now, I am dunking my.
I know. I knew that would come with a mixed reaction.
Not an Iowa fan, but I'm a fan of what Iowa's doing.
That's right. Of the concept.
Even though my Huskers are struggling a bit.
Well, it's a rebuilding year, Matt. It's a rebuilding year.
We've been rebuilding for like 9 years.
It's been a heck of a series of rebuilding years, but
well, you know what? I'm going to stay true to the course, and I'm going to keep cheering for him.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of my best friends, Dylan, his whole family is Husker fans. So they come from Husker land up there in Nebraska. So yeah, I've got a black shirt that I wear occasionally, but like you say, it's been tough. It's been a series of rebuilding years. Matt, get this. Ashley says Caleb gets a whole birthday month.
Now I'm just depressed.
I'm gonna need to bring this up with.
I say we petition our wives, Joe, and we start a club saying that we demand more time for our birthday.
Yes. It's like a birthday union.
We need to start what? That's what it is.
That's what it's got to be. What it's got to be. Like we're here for better. It's not really better wages, but like a better birthday experience. Like that's gotta be what it is.
So I'm super excited for Caleb. You know, they bought some property, and when I was out there last time, I got to go out and see where they're going to be building and adding on. And you know, he is just he's just a doggone it good guy, and he's a ray of sunshine. And I just think the world of those two, and they do life really well together. So hats off to Caleb and Ashley for just being doggone it good people.
That's when I'm talking about expert stainless steel, expert professional wood care. That is what I tell people is like, listen, if you want to do business with legitimately good people, you do business with them.
Yeah.
Like that's just every time I go there, like it's such a wholesome environment. The business office, you know what I mean? It's a great experience. Anybody that's in the area should visit them. Like I said, legitimately good people.
Yep. I love them.
And then Caleb confirms, yes, I do. He does get a birthday. Caleb, we're going to need you to teach us your ways of the birthday month.
Yeah,
And
how did you pull that?
We might elect him president of the birthday union.
Maybe we weren't aiming high enough. We were trying to get a weekend or a week. We should have been shooting for the moon and trying to get the month.
So we start with a year.
Right.
And
a
then
birthday
we back
year.
up to a month.
Right.
That's how we do it. We cracked the birthday code.
All right, everybody that's listening out there, join our birthday union. We
Birthday
demand
union,
more
Caleb's
time.
the president.
Caleb is the the king.
He's going to show us the way of the birthday month.
I love it.
Bo Butler, he was our latest winner of Spend a Day with the Expert. Says, good morning, Joe. I wanted to let you know I had a gentleman from Texas call me for marketing advice yesterday after he watched your show. It was an awesome feeling to help him.
That's great.
That's it. Professionals helping professionals. Caleb says, Daniel's son, I will teach you. He will teach us his ways of the birthday month. Oh, but here's a little bit of a conflict. So if there's 2 birthdays in the same month, so is it both Bam and Caleb's birthday month?
Well, apparently. That's a lot.
You have to sort that out.
Poor Ashley.
Has 2 big personalities to have birthdays in the same month. All right. Matt, let's get this train back on the track. We took a bit of a derail. So before this video started, Matt and I were kind of chatting. I like to have a chat like right before just to make sure like everyone covers what they want to cover and that sort of thing. And you had shared with me that you were going over your reports, and I'd asked, I said, could we talk about it a little bit during the show? Because we're growing, right? But we're not to where I want to be size-wise. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say no one. I think entrepreneurs have this thing where I think you're always looking for the next thing, right? You're always looking at the next level. What is the 10-year plan? What is the 15-year plan? That sort of thing. So I mean, honestly, Matt, you're one of my mentors because you're doing things that I want to do in my future. So part of me is curious, like so you're running multiple businesses within the umbrella, right? What do you look at as the owner of those businesses? So we talked about reports, but what do you look at? Like, how do you manage that many, companies effectively and efficiently?
Well, like I was saying earlier, the Friday report, I think I told you this before the show started. For the longest time, I didn't even tell people I did the Friday report because it's so simple that I thought people would not really make fun of me, but kind of be like, well, duh, you have to look at your reports. Yeah. But what I do, let's start with my Friday report. My Friday report has an AR, an AP, and a balance sheet. Okay. And that's, the balance sheet is for the year, only this year. Okay. I don't look at once I close out that last year, I put that away and I don't look at it.
So it's like a year to last month.
Yep. Year two. Yep. A year to the date.
Or year to date. Okay.
Yep. To when she runs the report. Yep.
That makes sense.
And a couple things I do is I have her send it out of QuickBooks and it comes to me in an Excel file. And that way I can kind of go through and highlight some sales on the AR or the AP and say, okay, these are some big bills. They're coming. When are they due? We're going to have a little bit of a cash flow crunch here. And then I also kind of blend in what I call our WIP. Our WIP is our work in progress.
Okay.
So I'll look at jobs that are coming, and especially the bigger jobs, and I'll say, okay, we've got to order $1 million worth of material. Like we just placed $1 million order of material from Beta Fence or Gardier fencing for a job we're doing up in Omaha, and I knew that we had to have monies set aside for that and enough line of credit. So I wasn't so worried about buying that material. I was more worried about making sure that I had my line of credit available, that I wasn't chewing into it, or we weren't buying a vehicle. Because sometimes I'll write a check to buy a vehicle out of my line of credit just for 30 days in order so I can say, it gives me a little more time to shop for a better loan, or maybe I'll lease it every once in a while. Now I have started leasing now. I'm not a big fan of leasing. I know Sean and we go back and forth on that. I like to have own the vehicle, but I'll put all those different things side by side. And then what I do is I go, so that's one thing I look at for cash flow. Another thing that I look at that is my responsibility is to make sure I take all my money in, my balance on my checking account, accounts receivable, a retainage. Retainage is a big one because we can run $500,000 to $750,000 just in retainage, and you don't get that money until the job's done.
Yeah.
So it becomes a little bit of a nightmare to try to manage that as you're going through, because that money is clear over there and the work is done and it's been billed, but they're still holding either 5 to 10%. So you got to plan for that.
Well, and retainage drives me crazy because that's money that we've earned. We don't apply for it till the job's done, but then it can get held up on anything. If there's a checklist for drywall, electrical, for this and that, like, well, the job's not done yet till this checklist's done. And meanwhile, we're sitting over here, we're like, Finch is great.
Right.
Like, we've got sign off on it. But something part of the game, though.
Something in the industry needs to change. And it's probably going to take something like the AFA or a bigger voice to get in front of some people to change the retainage laws. I've got a job that we did, a balcony job for an apartment complex up in Omaha. We did it 2 years ago. They still owe us $125,000 in retainage, and I've been literally, and you don't get any interest on that money. Nothing.
No.
It's awful. Now, it is nice to know that it's there, because I'm always like, well, maybe we'll get paid and you can call and blah, blah, blah. And there's some tricks to getting partial retainage. Maybe that's for another day, another time, but I don't want to lose track of my reports here.
Sure.
So what I do is I add up all my money coming in, I add up all my money coming out, and I literally do a cell that says equal this minus this, and I have that number. And if that number is way off from my net profit down at the bottom, then I know I've got something problem, and then I go deeper in. If it's pretty close to it, then I know, okay, my books are at least balancing, whether it's good news or bad news, it doesn't really matter. But at least my books are balancing. And like the gals, Melanie, my wife, Melissa, and Sarah, they all do our books for the 3 major companies that we have, but they have gotten now to where they kind of do it too. And then they kind of know before they even send me a report. So they'll say, hey, next week, why don't we go ahead and pay down the line of credit over here, because we're not going to need any for another 30 days. So I've got them thinking, and as you grow, those are the decisions that you want to empower them to start making on a weekly basis. And I can't tell you the last time that I actually said, hey, go ahead and move 75,000 of the line of credit over to pay these bills. I bet I haven't done that in 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Because of this Friday report. So
Sure.
I highly encourage anybody out there. And, Cannon Johnson with Jackson Fence, he started doing it. And he said, it was great because now my bookkeeper was sharing information with me, and I knew that she knew we were good. And she also was helping me catch some of our things. So I'm telling you, a Friday report is a good thing. And I'm going to show it to you more in depth the next time you and I are together, Joe. And maybe it's something we can make a mock-up sometime and we could just share it out there with all your fence fans.
Well, that's a heck of an idea, Matt, because I like, so one thing we were talking about is as you're climbing the ladder of responsibility within a company, I feel like, I don't want to say the report should be simpler, but you should be looking at less things.
Yep.
I feel like so that you can keep laser focused on those things.
Yep.
Right?
It is not my job to chase money anymore. That is Sarah, Melissa, and then the project managers. I don't do it. I used to have to do all that on all of them.
Sure. Yeah.
But I can't tell you the last time I've had to call, which is a blessing. Now I will tell you, the bigger you get, there's also some things that are not blessings, because you start getting this mammoth size payroll going out and you've got to start writing policies that don't give you the freedom. I mean, we had to write a vacation policy, and I'm like, why do we need a vacation policy? If you want to take a day off, take a day off, but you just can't do that. Especially when we blew past the 50 team members. And now we're at 86, I think, somewhere in there. See you, Benjamin. Yeah. Sorry. Got people. It's Saturdays. Yeah. People are coming in and working. It's exciting.
Yeah.
But so that's my Friday report. I don't know if that helps anybody out there.
Yeah.
If anybody ever does, you know what we could do is we could cover this in one of your classes, or maybe
So
go ahead.
I like that idea, actually. So November, we've got a State and Steel University coming to Springfield, and I like that idea of covering it. I always get hesitant to have financial talks during the trainings because it can be such a wide range.
Yeah.
Right. You have everything from someone who is almost ready to take the step of starting a company. Like, they're not quite there yet. This is like the final confirmation for them.
Yep.
From there all the way to someone that's been doing it for years, runs multiple crews, and everything in between. I hesitate to talk about finance in those rooms because the answers are different, right? We're talking about line of credit, right? So the line of credit for the guy that's been doing it for 20 years and has multiple crews looks very different than the guy that's just getting started.
Right.
But
absolutely. That
being said, I can see this being a conversation, though, because this is something that no matter what level you're at, you'd want to look at.
Yeah.
Now, and your accounts receivable and accounts payable could be really short. Like, you could have 2 jobs that owe me. I owe 1 vendor, right? Like, it could be really simple. And then this report gets even easier. It's a 5-minute look at it, making sure it makes sense. There's something to be said, though, about starting stuff like this now. Like, speaking to the guy that's getting ready to take the step into the business. So even if you haven't started, this is the time to start following the finance. How many guys have you talked to, Matt, that said they started out fencing on the side on weekends and evenings and stuff like that, and then it grew, and then they started doing it a couple days a week, and then it grew and grew and grew, and finally they've got a couple helpers, maybe they've got someone that answers phones, so they're growing, and now they're left going, I don't know my finances. Maybe I don't track, like I've got written in a notebook who owes me money, and I just scratch their name off when they pay me.
Yep.
Okay. Like, that is keeping track of it, but maybe.
Yeah. And keeping track of it in a notebook's better than nothing. But correct. I'm telling you, I've said this 1,000 times. Embrace technology. Use it. Use what we have out there. It's you just have to have a good set of books. One, I think the difference between when I ran my trucking company when I was from 18 to 29 to where I'm running our netting and fencing business for the last 16 years is Sarah. And she is just, from on day one, I said, I don't want to do the books because that's not my specialty. I can go out and work. So I went out and worked. But Sarah and I, 5 years ago, came up with this report, and it changed our way of communicating. It actually made us help us communicate not as often.
Sure.
Because we're so transparent, and we do this weekly. We don't ever miss this report. Ever, 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 ever. 52 of them a year.
Matt, when did you know that you needed a Sarah? Like, when did you know that you needed her to come on board, or someone to fill that position?
I knew it right away. I had another gal before Sarah, and then she actually went and got her master's and wanted to be a full-time accountant. So she left, and then I brought Sarah on. But when I started this business in 2009, I said, because of my trucking company and how I failed miserably, I boom, crash, boom, right into the ground. I said, I want to have perfect books all the time. So I just made it a commitment. I took it, instead of me taking more money, I made sure I always had money to pay for somebody to do the books. And when you first get started, you can have somebody do it very part-time.
Yeah.
It doesn't require a lot. It's 15, 20 hours a week. Now, here's what happened to us is once I brought Sarah on, we started growing. And I think she's been with me for like 7 or 8 years now, of the 16 years we've been in business. But once I brought her on, we started growing, and then I didn't realize how she had to get some help.
Sure.
We had to bring her in some more people, and then you start layering on. And growth is a very tricky thing, because when you bring in people to be in the office, that's overhead, and overhead, it'll suck the lifeblood right out of a company if you have too much of it. And my advice, not that you want to take my advice, but my advice to people out there is you're never going to have a perfect balance. You're always going to be teetering a little heavy in the office, a little heavy in the field, a little heavy in the office. And I think that's the perfect balance, is to kind of that ship broken back and forth. That's kind of what you want to have, in my opinion.
Well, and that's a conversation we're having recently too, about, because so we're hiring more guys for the shop, right? For fabrication and for inventory and for stuff like that. And my dad just, he comes from a different world in that it was all field. Like, listen, you need more guys in the field because those guys are generating revenue. You need to build the business and then hire the support. You need to build business, then hire support, build business. So he always looks at it as like a lagging, right. The support lags behind the business. Whereas I like to look at it from but I would rather have the correct people in place to build that business into. When you're looking at the lagging, when you're hiring because of need, it's a more stressful, in my opinion, it's a little bit more stressful scenario, because you're going to run lean for a while. You're going to be putting extra burden on the shoulders of the people that are here until you can catch up. I don't know. But to your point,
it's a balance. And you know what? I've done it. I've went through and I've said, okay, we're a little heavy in the office right now. We need to add a couple more crews to help pay for this, because ultimately the crews are the ones that pay the bills. I mean, you got to have them going.
Without them, you don't generate the revenue. I mean, you could sell all you want to, but if it doesn't get done, it doesn't get paid.
Right. The other thing too is I think that it's important that people with this balance sheet, if you don't know how to read your balance sheet, don't be afraid to say, I don't know how to read my balance sheet, and come to a chapter meeting or something.
Yeah.
And find a guy like me or you or whatever. Matter of fact, I wrote it down. Rachel and Kelsey will be at the chapter meeting September 23rd at Shangri-La.
Shangri-La. At the AFA Midwest meeting. You nailed it. Yeah, so Friday evening we're having a dinner, an AFA Midwest meeting and a dinner with networking afterwards. And then the next day we're playing golf. We're having a Midwest golf outing.
Now, I will not be there.
Okay.
But I highly encourage people that are out there, if you're in the Midwest or you're anywhere, get plugged in with your AFA or any other group for that concern. Or spend the money and go to a Tony Thornton Super Summit, or spend the money and fly to my office and come see me. If anybody ever wanted to come see me, I would open up my doors wide open, say, come on in, let's sit down, let's show you what we do. Don't necessarily do what I do. Do what you need to do for you. But here's some tricks that I've learned from other people, because one thing I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I've always surrounded myself with smarter people, and I like to go learn from them. So my advice to all of you out there listening to Joe's show, find somebody, buy them lunch, go see them. It'll be well worth your time.
So So this kind of Christian kind of echoes that. He had posted this a little bit ago. If you've never been there before, could be anything.
Right.
Find someone who has.
Yep.
To show the way.
Bingo.
Right.
Well said.
You know, I like that advice a lot, because a lot of guys will try to push through themselves. They're like,
Right.
I'll figure it out, and they probably will. But why not find someone who has been through it before? Like, so Matt, like I said, you're one of my mentors, and I feel like if I have a bump in the road, I can shoot you a text and say, hey, well, we had a conversation. It's been a little while ago where I had an employee issue, right? Yep. And it was a growing pains issue, and I was like, I don't know who to reach out to. I shot you a text, and like almost immediately phone rings, and you're like, hey, we need to talk about this because I saw something like this. Here's what I saw, and here's what I did. Here's some advice to go along with it.
Yeah.
Everyone needs someone like that that you can just bounce ideas off of.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. So we have a brand new startup company in Lincoln, a brand new startup fence company from Lincoln. And the only reason why I know that he's doing this because I tried to hire him for a long time just because he's a good human and I liked him a lot. And so he called me up. He's like, hey, I'm starting my own company. We're letting him use our drop yard. He doesn't have a yard. So he's dropping stuff in our yard. And he's like, what do I owe you? I'm like, well, you don't owe me anything. Someday I'll need a favor. So just put it in the bucket and go. So if somebody's out there and they want to come talk to somebody or you don't know until you ask, and it's good. So I'm going through my list of things that I have to have check marked off. Okay. So I did the hey, get in with Tony Thornton. Tony Thornton is just a good human, and he's really, really trying to make a difference in people's lives. And for that, I give him a big thumbs up. And I love that guy. Him and I have had some good heated conversations, and that's when I know that I really trust somebody, is when they're willing to give me good criticism or constructive criticism back. So Tony Thornton, October 16th, 19th, he has a website, does consulting. Joe, you have your show on November 10th and 11th. And
that's right.
I'm going to be there with bells on.
I love it.
And we're going to be talking culture. That's my favorite thing. And maybe we'll do a quick little 20-minute thing on balance sheets.
I'd like to. I'd absolutely love that. Absolutely.
Then the AFA chapter meeting on September 23rd, right?
Yep.
Okay, so I got those
in a couple weeks.
Now, I need to make a few. I need to talk a little bit about mySalesman, Joe. Can I do that real quick?
Absolutely.
So, mySalesman officially is. We can now officially share information with ArcSight, so we can
very
pass
good
information. And in the next couple of weeks, I hope I can say this. In the next couple of weeks, we're actually going to be sending them our drawing, the PDF of the drawing that people made, so then they can mark. You can mark it up even more. Rachel,
really?
I sure hope I hope that was okay. I said that. Also, next week we're going live with Job Nimbus. And Job Nimbus is a wonderful company. Do you use Job Nimbus?
I do. Yep, we do.
Can I do a little plug for Mark Olson?
Absolutely.
Doggone it. Him and I really appreciate that guy. He came all the way here to Nebraska to see and be a part of our Monday morning meeting and be a part of see what we do with our culture, whatever. That is, and we weren't even using the software at the time. He just liked my culture talk that I did it with Tony Thornton, and which you've heard it a couple of times. And he's like, I want to come and see this. And when he left, he said, you know what? I had my doubts that it was as good as you said, but it's even better, which I loved it. And you know what? Him and I, now we text each other. Matter of fact, I'm supposed to go wheeling in Moab with him and Ben from them guys. But Job Nimbus is doing a great job. We are subscribing to it now. We are getting it set up. So I'm new at the whole Job Nimbus thing. But now we're going to be able to take the mySalesman information and push it over. I support Job Nimbus 100%.
Nice. Very good. Very good.
True is out there also. Very nice software, great people. And we now can push all our information over to True also.
Nice.
Good people. I like them too. So that's a little bit of what's going on with some updates.
Yeah.
Now,
Partnering with others in the industry
Yeah.
or different segments of the industry.
now, Joe, you
Yeah.
know what I want to talk about next, right?
Here we go. This is about right. We're about an hour and 10 into it. This is
Yeah, we are. Okay.
We are. Are you talking about what I think you're talking about?
Yeah. All right. So this is going to be so awesome. All right. Everybody out there, make plans to be at FinTech in Oklahoma City.
Okay.
And stop saying, yeah, but it's Oklahoma City, and start saying, whoa, it's Oklahoma City. Because mySalesman's celebrating their 10th anniversary. And as a big shout out, thank you to the fence industry and for all the many customers that we have all across the country. We are going with a 50 by 50 booth this year. We are going bigger than ever. We're going to be debuting all kinds of new products that Rachel told me I can't talk about yet, but we're going to have all kinds of new products out there. We're going to have, we're going to set up an ESPN type studio that's going to have an overhead lights, and it's going to be filming, and Joe Everest is going to be on there doing live interviews.
That's right.
Dan and Cannon are going to be on there doing live interviews.
That's
and
right.
Tony Thornton's going to be in our booth doing live interviews. And we're all going to be hanging out together, and we're going to bring in some awesome people I don't know if anybody knows who Bobby Batchelor is, but I'm going to convince him to come and sit in the booth with us and tell us about what he's doing. Seeger's Fence is doing it right. They are awesome, and they know how to run a business. I'm going to try to get Steve Bennett, my buddy at Fence Factory. I'm going to try to get him in there to get an interview. We're going to try to get all kinds of other people in the industry. You guys have tons of ideas, and I've been talking with you. Matter of fact, we've been doing weekly meetings with you and Dan and Cannon and saying, what can we do to make this the greatest fence tech ever? And doggone it, people out there keep saying, I don't go to fence tech because it's always the same thing over and over. Well, it's not going to be this year. It's going to be awesome.
That's right.
And we're going to have people there, and we're going to learn together, and we're going to build time. We're going to have camaraderie together, and we're going to be hanging out in the showroom floor. We're going to be going to classes. We're going to be engaged. Tuesday night, I'm doing a speech all about getting motivated and jacked up to run your company, that you have control. And I'm going to be blending in my culture talk with it, but I'm also going to I'm writing a brand new speech for it. So that's Tuesday night.
Fantastic.
Great talk. So it's going to be awesome. Please, I'm begging everybody out there, spend a little bit of time in Oklahoma City with us at the end of February. I'm telling you, you will not regret it. There's new products out there. Job Nimbus is going to have a trailer there. ArcSite's going to be there. There's going to be all these new products out there. There's new things in the industry. This is not FinTech of old, folks. It's not. It is exciting, and we have a great industry. We need to be there meeting and shaking hands and getting to know each other. Should I stop? I'm all jacked up.
No, I'm just wondering why they chose you to talk about bringing enthusiasm to your business. I don't are you going to show some of that in the talk, or like, so let's talk about the OKC venue for a little bit. It's a new facility, and
brand new.
And here's how I picture it. I haven't been there, but here's how I picture it. So we're Cardinals fans here, so we like going up to Busch Stadium, but they have like the whole ballpark village, right? So they've got the stadium, but they also, in a 2 or 3 block radius have, like, I don't even know, it's not really, it's like a sports bar, but it's like a 2-story. They got restaurants, they got stuff like that. They've got all the hotels right there, to where the reason we like going is we can stay in one of those hotels, and then we're always on property, whether we're going to the game or we're going to the sports bar type place. And it sounds like Bricktown is what they call that area around the convention center. It sounds like it's kind of the same thing, right? Where you've got dining and entertainment and hotels all right there. Yeah,
it is. And it's going to be, it's one of those things that I don't know if I could do fencing without going to Fence Tech. And yes, we do show there, so it's important. But I'm telling you, I've gotten to know so many people, and I've got I've got this list of friends in the industry that I can call anytime, anywhere in the country for anything. And that's how you network and get to know people. You want to grow your business, start hanging out with people that compliment you, not necessarily that compete against you. Did you catch what I said there? Yes. Hang out with people that compliment you. That's why I like hanging out with you. We accent each other. We talk about business. We talk about strategy. We talk about faith, right?
Yep.
We talk about all those things that you need somebody in your life to talk with. So come to Fence Tech, folks. Please.
But man, I got to ask you a question about that. Am I supposed to be giving you compliments though? Should I start doing that? You mentioned that.
No, you compliment me because you're so darn cute.
Oh no. Okay. Don't make me bluff on my own show, man. Like that's not proper like etiquette here. But no, you're right. So I mean, the saying is like, you are the sum of the people you surround yourself with.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't understand before I went to Fence Tech. So San Antonio was my first Fence Tech, and it's been several years ago. This is my first one. I didn't know what it was about. I want to say it was probably right after I bought the business or right before. It was right in that time frame where it's like, well, I should go. Like, I think that's something that my dad would go every like 3 or 4 years. He's like, I just want to go once, and then I'll skip a few years, because he was one of the guys that said it's pretty much the same stuff. If you go every 3 or 4 years, you kind of catch it, which at the time may have been true.
It was very true.
Went to San Antonio, and the reason is, well, one, so we were buying the business. I was like, I need to put on my business owner hat and go. But also, Taylor was like, you know what? It would be great to go to San Antonio in February when it's freezing at home.
Yes.
Good
Bingo.
call. Good call.
Bingo.
So we went, and I walked through the doors of we did some of the classes first. I thought, this is interesting. Okay, so it's training. And then the showroom floor opened a couple days later, and it was like walking into like the fencing mecca, right? Like it was, yes. Yeah. And it was every vendor you would want to meet to run a business successfully.
Right.
I mean, you had pipe vendors, you had fitting vendors, you had machinery vendors, software vendors, you had whatever you need to run your business, they were there. Yep. And some of them we already used. So sometimes it was just putting faces with the voice that I heard on the phone, like, oh, okay, well, it's good to meet you in person, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But also it was meeting new vendors. Like that's how we picked up one of our pipe and steel vendors. Was I'd never met them at the time. They didn't have an office in Missouri. But they were there. Right. And I went to dinner with a friend who had dinner with them, and we got to talking. And then what do you know? Now they're one of our main pipe and tube vendors. So one thing led to another, sort of thing. And I've been ever since.
Yeah. It's so important to get to know who you're working with, and to be able to call up one of your vendors or somebody and say, hey, I'm in a pinch here. Can you help me out with this product, or can you check to see if we can get it a week earlier, or hey, can we piggyback some? I mean, just that human element of doing business. You really need to go to Fence Tech, and
I agree.
Don't go just to. I mean, don't get me wrong. Come and see mySalesman, because it's going to be awesome, and we're calling it Operation Stampede because we are going to. I really think we're going to take this place by storm. mySalesman is going to have a great show. I love it that you and Ken and Dan have agreed to do live interviews right there where people can come and listen to you talking, and they're all going to be recorded, and then we're going to kick them out later. I'm still trying to see if I can even get maybe Dan Wheeler to come and do some and that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be fun to be able to hang out together and chit chat. But if you don't come just to see me, come and see what all's out there, because or I shouldn't say me, I should say mySalesman, because we all know that everybody goes to see Rachel. Actually, she's the workhorse behind mySalesman. I'm just the idea guy, but we are going to be kicking out some new products, and I'm excited. The finance tool is going to be there. Matter of fact, the people that are helping me on the finance side are actually coming to help teach people how to do financing and all that kind of stuff.
Were you supposed to talk about that?
Oh,
Was that?
did I?
I don't know that was on your list.
All right, go back, and that was not on my list. Go back. All right.
Okay, so we're going to be interviewing people.
Hopefully, Rachel's not listening.
Hopefully. You're going to find out in about 45 seconds as she comes through the door like the Kool-Aid man.
I just got done looking at my phone. I'm like, well, she hasn't texted me yet. I might be safe.
But no, so when you first asked me about this, you're like, hey, I've got this idea. What do you think? I love it. I absolutely love it. I mean, it's what I enjoy doing. It's interviewing people like yourself that I legitimately want to learn from and share it with the audience. And I think this does that. Oh, no.
See that red face that she just sent me?
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I'm in trouble. But you're right. The interviewing, and plus there's some people out there that aren't on social media.
Yeah.
That I consider them really good friends of mine in the fence industry. And they don't go out there and they're never on social media platforms because they're running their business, and we run 84 team members. Some of these other people run 340 team members. And so it's a different level of business. And I think it's fun to hear what they have to say. And plus a lot of them are second, third, fourth generation companies. And we can get them in there to teach the rest of us. That's worth the price of admission right there.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely it is. And a term I kind of how I refer to them would be the silent giants, right? These are the giants of the industry that, I'll be honest, before meeting you, I had no idea that they existed, right? Like, just because to your point, they're not on social media. No one's really talking about, like, if you're in their market, you know all about them because they are the giant in the market. But once you get out of that market, like, I'm in the Midwest. I'm not on the East Coast. I'm not on the West Coast. Right. I don't know a lot of these guys that I should know, and I should know them because I want to grow to a level, right? A level that they've been at before. And it's kind of one of those things too. Like, I'm sure if you looked at like my 10-year, 15-year plan, they'd be like, oh yeah, I remember back then. Yeah, I remember how that was. Yeah, and then, but those are the people that you need to know to help you get to that point, right?
Right.
I'm guilty of, I don't know what I don't know, right? Like, I don't know the questions I should be asking. I don't know the hires I should be making. I don't know the order of hires. Like, so we just brought on a fractional CFO. This guy is like the finance guy for our business because I don't know what I don't know,
right.
And he's someone that's dealt with much bigger businesses, right? Now it's fractional because I also know I don't need to spend what his salary would be multiple six figures, right? Sure. Just based on his resume. Now, fractional means I get him for a few hours a month, which for the size of my company is probably exactly what we need his time for. But that's what I mean is I'm trying to bring in people, but I don't know. Like, I don't know. Is now the right time?
Right.
Maybe I talked to one of these guys and they're like, oh, you probably could have gone a little while longer, right? Or you just now brought him on. Like, that should have been $1 million ago in revenue, or that should have been, whatever it is.
Well, and I'm telling you, I would not, the building that I'm in right now, are what I call basically HQ.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have bought this property or built this building if it wasn't for Steve Bennett mentoring to me saying, you should have already had that bought, young man. Get it bought now. And that very next day I called him up. I said, I'll take it. And I was scared. I didn't know if we could handle it. I knew that we had to hit a certain amount of growth in order to afford what we wanted. So I had to set some guidelines and say, this is where we're pushing. We had to get out of our comfort zone. We had to do some projects that we kind of had to swing for the fence on. And it was good. But without him in my life, we wouldn't have this building. I would have been too nervous and too scared to do it.
Well, yeah, because part of that, so some of our conversations is me just saying, hey, here's where we are, here's where we're going, and here's what I think we're going to do. And you saying, yeah, that sounds about right. It's giving confirmation to what I think, right? So you and I and Caleb and Braden had a incredible conversation there in North Carolina one evening, and it was all about that, right? It was all about Caleb and I be like, oh, here's what I'm doing. Does this make sense?
Right.
Like when you were here and you were trying to go there, does this path make sense? And here's what I'll say about you, Matt. You are fantastic at saying, well, yes, but have you thought about X, Y, and Z? Because you're probably, now that is the path, but you're going to get to these crossroads. Have you thought about it yet? And I'm going, I have not thought about that at all. Like, no tin phone. Okay, got it.
We did have a good talk that night, and I thought Braden might have gotten a little bored, but he said he truly enjoyed it. So because us three guys can sit and talk shop all night long, and I really enjoyed that. Plus it was a cool place.
It was I have told everyone about that. So it was a cigar lounge, but they had remodeled a Pizza Hut.
Yeah.
So if you can think that it's not really Quonset hut, I guess, but the Pizza Hut buildings, if you've been at Pizza Hut, you know what I'm talking about. Old school. Yeah. He had just looked like gutted it and then turned it into a cigar lounge, like a membership kind of lounge. Like it was an upscale lounge, to be sure.
It was very nice.
And it had like a little private room where like we were walking, it was perfect. It had 4 places to sit, and we're like, are we allowed to go in? Like it felt like a limited access type place. We're like, are we allowed to go in there? Oh yeah.
What was so nice too is it gave us kind of some seclusion. I wish there was somehow I could get the point across to your listeners that it's so important to surround yourself with people that you can be frank with and you can ask questions about your business and not be embarrassed that you don't know the answer. It's okay. Like the longest time, I was embarrassed to tell people how I did my Friday reports because I thought it was so elementary that people would be like, well, duh. But I'm telling you, it works, and it's such an easy thing to do. And but anyhow, enough about that. I really do think that FinTech's going to be great this year. I'm so excited to have you and My Fence Life both in there all the time, and hopefully we can convince Dan Wheeler. I've been so busy, I keep forgetting to call him, but maybe we can get him to do a couple interviews in there. And Tony Thornton's already agreed to do an interview in there to actually interview somebody. And I think Tony brings a different perspective than what even the 3 or 4 of us even bring. So it's going to be really cool. And we're going to have some giveaways. We're going to have some giveaways there, some shirts and some hats. And
nice.
So it's going to be really cool.
Some swag. So, but this mentorship talk, so this after hours conversation, I think is also a benefit of coming to events like this, right? So we were in North Carolina for a training event. It wasn't an AFA training event, but it was a training event. But half of the value is at the show. It's at the trainings. It's on the show floor. It's being able to be a fly on the wall during these conversations that you're setting up for us. The other half is after that thing closes and everyone goes out to, wherever in Bricktown for the Young Fence Professionals evening was one where I met a tremendous amount of people that I legitimately wanted to meet. All the people I wanted to meet. And in these other after hours types events to where we can have conversations like the one that the 4 of us had, right? Where we're saying, hey, I'm having this problem in my business. Have you seen anything like that? And someone else goes, oh, yeah. So I saw that a couple of years ago. And now here's how I handled it. Now my business is different than your business, but this is what worked for me. Or equally valuable, here's what I did, and it was not the way to do it.
Right.
You're going to think this makes sense. No. Like Danger Will Robbins, because that is not the way to do it.
So do you know who Jim Rohn is?
Yeah.
So kind of motivational type speaker, but he did like tapes back in the day before. So he was actually ahead of his time. If he was on today's platform, he'd be huge,
ginormous.
Because, but one thing he said is, he said, you want to learn how to have a better life? Go sit down with somebody that is super negative and that hates life, and write down all the things they're doing, and then don't do those. Take note of even the bad things, not just the good things, and don't do them. I'm telling you, I've said it. I think you've probably heard me when I'm talking business. I've told people many times, don't rob Peter and pay Paul. Don't take, if you go out and you get a line of credit on a project, on a single project, don't take that money and go buy a pickup truck. No. That's bad. Very bad. You buy a pickup truck when you're ready to buy a pickup truck, and you make it stand on its own 2 feet.
Yes. Well, and so where I see this a lot is guys that take deposits on jobs to pay for finishing up another project. Like, I'm going to take a deposit on project B so that I can finish out project A.
Big no.
You do that enough, then you're left holding the bag on that. Yeah. And you start taking 2 or 3 deposits to finish up this one job, or pay to all this job, because you've taken that deposit for these other ones. And then one day you're left saying, hey, I've got 20 deposits and I can't possibly do all this work. And then you're stuck. Then, unfortunately, those characters vanish with 20 deposits, and leave the rest of us in the industry with a black eye saying, oh, those fence guys, like, I don't know if I'd give them a deposit, because I heard about one time.
Yep. It just happened in Beatrice, Nebraska. A guy just took deposits and eventually he ended up just leaving town, and it was a huge black eye in our industry. And matter of fact, we went down there and tried to help some people out, and just by us helping people out, they didn't even want to work with us because they were so skittish from the fence industry. And I was just so upset with this guy. I don't even know him, but I was like, man, you really ruined it for the rest of us that are trying to run good, legitimate companies.
Yeah, and you ruin it long term. Like, this is a long scale. Like, this is a decade of a black eye, because we had it here. It's probably been 3 or 4 years ago. We had a guy do it in Springfield, and we still deal with it, right? Because the news stations run with the story, and so the Missouri Attorney General got involved.
Oh my!
And he got this because the amount was substantial. He had deposits, but he also had vendors that he owed hundreds of thousands of dollars to. So he had people chasing him on both ends, and we still deal with it because we ask for a deposit to get on the schedule. We need 50% deposit. We don't need it, but it is a requirement. So, and when we're having that conversation, the homeowners saying, well, I saw that news story and they were telling me that I should think twice about giving a deposit to anybody I don't know. And to which I say, understood. Like, I was here for it. To your point, like, we made one lady whole on her fence because it was,
I remember that story.
A tragic story.
Yep.
Like, I was here for it. I know it. Now, I have a contract. We have a contract together. And I think it's important. Our contract has teeth in it for both sides, right? Like, sometimes when you read a contract, it's really like company focused. There's some teeth in here where if I don't perform, you, the customer, you've got some teeth in this thing too. I feel like it's fair. Now, if you have an attorney you want to run it by, then by all means, let's talk about that. But at the end of the day, we do need 50% to schedule the project. That's just our policy. And if we make an exception once, now we're making exceptions twice, and it's just is what it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's something that it is a struggle, right? It is a struggle, but I think they're probably, these conversations are coming up enough to where I think there's solutions on the horizons. Maybe, I don't know.
I think there is. I really do. All right. So should I recap all of our
Operation Stampede?
Operation Stampede. It's
So
going to be big.
let's go a little bit more into Operation Stampede, though, because so you're bringing a few people to this. And when I say a few, I mean like a couple buses.
So one thing I believe so well in that this is that your people should go, that we're going to get 2 charter buses, and our goal is to take every single person, 84. Now, people have life things going on, but we're literally shutting the company down for 2 days. And on that Thursday and Friday, we're getting them up early. We're going down. We're going to be on the showroom floor. I'm going to be having people in classes. We are really going to put an investment into our people, not necessarily because everybody's in the field and they need to see everything we're doing, but because I want them bought in on our industry and meet the people in our industry and be able to know it. So yes, we are bringing, I hope, every single person, but at a minimum, at least 50 or 60 are going to go to Oklahoma City, and we're going to spend the night. And then we're going to do some things as a group with the Empire family.
Mm-hmm.
We really have a pretty tight knit group for as big as we've gotten. Guys are, and I'm hoping that this will just even make us tighter, that we can go spend 2.5 days together at FinTech. And yes, we're coming. You're going to see the Empire people all over that place.
I love it.
It's going to be exciting.
Now, one aspect of this operation that I've had some input that's been taken, and I'm here for it, is the signal light.
We bought it.
So I know. I'm
you
so
already know that
about this light.
I love it.
Rachel's like, we did it. We got it. It's on. Like, so there's gonna be
a big signal light for when we're getting ready to do the live interviews. And I don't know, maybe it won't turn out quite the way I think, but man, wouldn't it be cool, like a bat light, and people see it? If you see it's up, then you know that we're doing interviews.
That's right. It's gonna be so cool. I
can't wait. I'm telling you, it's going to be good, and I think it's going to be educational, and that's really what we want. And we want to celebrate mySalesman. mySalesman, of course, was literally just a concept idea that I had, and the industry just has really embraced it, and we're very thankful. So it's our way to kind of give back.
Well, and I'll say this, I'll give you guys a pat on the back, because mySalesman is the reason that one of the reasons we got through the pandemic the way we did, in as good a shape, because locally, and I'm sure you heard this from across the country, but we were really limited on how we could interact with our potential clients. We weren't putting door hangers on the doors. We weren't going door to door.
Right.
We weren't doing any of that. And we couldn't do in-person proposals anymore.
Right.
And it made sense. Like, once at first I was pretty miffed about it. Like, we sold a lot of fence just on the one-on-one interaction for them meeting us, to realize, okay, these are good people. This is a family. This isn't just a sales tactic. They do what they say they're going to do.
Right.
Got taken away, gone. Like that. Like, within a day, they just said no more face-to-face interaction, which makes sense, because as I cooled down a little bit from it, I'm like, okay, so when I was running proposals, I would run 4 or 5 a day. I'm also going to stop at a gas station. I'm also going to stop and eat lunch somewhere. So I'm going to interact with, say, a dozen people throughout the day, who may have also interacted with a dozen people throughout the day, who have also, it starts to make a bit of sense, right? Like, okay, so these in-person proposals, probably a thing of the past. They are a thing of the past for us, even though now, obviously, things are different. Like, we can go back to that if we want to, but I'm not a big fan of the idea in general anyway. But your guys' tool, so pre-pandemic, we were using it, but we were using it as an option, right? We're like, well, if you're not ready for a proposal, but you do want to have a sense for where it is, we've got a quote tool. We use Mike Robinson's idea. So here locally, we've got Robinson Fence, who uses the tool, who's like one of the original users of the tool.
Yeah, he was the original beta tester. Yeah.
So he was using it at trade shows. And I was like, that is a fantastic idea. So we started using it at trade shows, but it was limited to that, right? Where if at a trade show or as an option, but then the pandemic made it to where it was a mandatory first step. We created a pandemic response plan to where this is the new way of doing proposals. And like, this is the way, and we still do it. But if we hadn't had the tool, what would we have done? Like, we could have probably cobbled together something where we were using Google Earth while we're on the phone with them and like trying to figure it out. Like, there is a way, I'm sure.
There is. Yep.
But
and I tell people all the time, the Google Earth thing's fine to use. The problem is that it doesn't sit on your website working for you all the time in case somebody wants something on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Exactly.
We'll relatively affordable.
No, we'll look at quote tools where, to your exact point, they are overnight.
Yeah.
That person got a quote, a price range on their schedule. And then they submitted to us the best way to get in touch with them. Their phone number, their email address. We have a picture of their property. It's the whole thing. And yeah, there are other ways of doing it. But for us, we didn't have to reinvent the wheel. We didn't have to sit and figure it out. So I will say that about you guys. And that's why I'm such a big proponent of it. Proponent? Yeah, that's the word. I'm a big fan is the word I'm going for.
I love it. I love it. And Joe, we appreciate it. And we have a lot of people that have just really embraced our product and what we're doing. And we're coming out with some new products, and we're going to grow. I'm moving more of my focus over to the software side. So we're going to grow. And February is going to be kind of a big kickoff because we're going to be doing shows, training events all over the country, pretty much all year next year. And we're going to be out promoting our new products, but also I want to blend in a little bit of what Tony Thornton's doing, what the AFA's doing, and saying, hey, I'll come. If you're a subscriber, I'll give you my 2 cents. But then I want to get them plugged in with people like Tony and get people training. I just think that education is so important to success. If you're going to be successful, you have to be educated. But I am super excited about FinTech.
Operation Stampede is a go. It is a go.
It is a full steam ahead operation. You know what I'm also excited about, Joe, is that I think it's great. You get to kind of see how we put together our meetings and how I run a meeting. I appreciated you called me last week and saying, hey, I am learning a little bit of how you run a meeting versus how I run a meeting. And we had some great dialogue, and that's another opportunity for us to learn from each other.
That's right. No, and so we're meeting every Monday morning. And like now, like I get a little extra pep in my step because I see Operation Stampede on my Monday. Like, so in the morning, like my morning routine at home is I'll look at my calendar and just get ready mentally for what I need to do during the day and stuff like that. Operation Stampede's on there.
I love it. It's good stuff.
If all else goes awry in the day, I get to see Matt. So that makes it okay.
We do have a good time, and there's a lot of energy there. But
there is.
So has anybody checked in lately? Or
yeah. Let's say hi to a few people.
I kind of like the checking in.
So Ideal Fence says Ideal Fence #the pro. I like that. Morning, Joe and Matt. Good morning. Well, Christian's got a point. You're going to need a lot of cake if you have a birthday month.
That is true. Good point.
And I'm okay with that. I think I'm willing to be okay with that for sure.
I can sacrifice.
You're right. Fence King says, I agree with my fence life. Shocker, Fence King. That's Dan Blanc. Dan, we know what's going on. We know.
I do. I will tell you, I do like that old Dano. Him and Cannon are so different in their personalities and just the way they are. I really enjoy both of those guys. They are really, really good eggs.
Yeah, absolutely. They play well off each other.
Yeah.
I agree. Agreed. Caleb says, great to see you guys. He's taking the kids dove hunting.
Oh my goodness. So I went last Sunday and we shot 24 doves. It was so awesome. Yeah, out there by Lake Mallard, we've got some bales that we set up, and we set up an area, and they were just coming in like crazy. It was so much fun.
I'm so jealous of you guys. So in Missouri, we don't really have that. We just have like sport shooting like tournaments. So right now, so next weekend we're sponsoring a sport shooting tournament, and but that's like as close as we get. But so I'm jealous of you guys that actually get to use that in real life.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yep. So Christian had a great point. If you've never been there before, find someone who has.
Yep.
Eloya says, great advice.
Good.
Thank you. Michael Taylor's jacked up for OKC, gave you a woo.
I love it.
And Christian also. So this is how I pictured this going on just now is like,
woo, woo.
Oh, nope, that's not the right one. Woo, woo. So anyway, for those of you on the listening on the podcast, this isn't going to make a lot of sense, but we've got dueling woos right now in the comment section.
I love it.
And then Roger wanted to let you know this was about the thing we're not going to talk about that may have slipped out earlier. Not saying a word.
We're not talking about it quite yet.
That's right. No one's saying a word. No one says anything about it. All right.
I know.
JC Fence says, hi, guys. What's up, JC Fence? Ken Throckmorton was talking about, so he used the quote tool before pandemic and still the first step always.
Hey, so get this. Funny story with Ken Throckmorton. So we're over at Cliffs of Moher in Ireland. And we just got done walking up along the cliffs and stuff. Melanie, Jamie, Kelsey, and myself. And the girls wanted to do some shopping, and I really wasn't feeling the shopping. So I just sat out there on the grass outside this like little shopping area there. And started talking to this guy, and obviously the Nebraska football game was over there, so there's a lot of Nebraska people, and I noticed he had a Nebraska hat. So I said, "Hey, where are you from?" He said, "Omaha," and I said, "Oh, well, I'm from Lincoln." Or I said, "Well, actually, Waverly." I said, "We have a little fence company out there," and he goes, "Empire?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, you've heard of us?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I'm friends with Ken Throckmorton, so when you did Operation Epic." Ken Throckmorton stopped and saw me in Omaha and blah, 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 blah. So I wonder, apparently he took a picture of him and I together and we sent it to Ken. Now, I wonder if Ken actually got the picture. But it was just weird how we're clear across the pond and we're both fence guys.
His name was Adam.
Bingo. That's
Isn't
it.
A small world.
I loved it.
Across the globe, meet somebody that knows a buddy of yours.
Yeah, that does. And they do fence. It's Rail in Omaha. They do fence in Omaha. So it was awesome. It was so much fun to just chat with him. And then I told him, I said, "Hey, technically we can write the trip off because we did business."
That's right.
Wink, wink.
Mm-hmm. Iris doesn't like winks though. Like I feel like I don't know. Anyway, but. So have you listened? So Dan Wheeler's podcast this week was with Ken, and it is if you guys haven't listened to it, it is worth a listen. Absolutely.
I usually listen to it when I in the mornings when I'm on the treadmill. So I'll probably get that on Monday.
There you go. Alan Bolding says, "I can't wait for Fence Tech." Very good. So we've got an announcement that involves Alan that we're going to make next Saturday.
Nice.
Not all the parties have been notified, but stay tuned. Big announcement. Kenny Dugan, speaking of the devil, he's here. Says, "Morning, guys. Have you plugged Springfield event and our veteran search?" Yes and no. So we talked about the Springfield event coming up in November. It's going to be now we push it off later in the year so that more folks will be able to attend. It's not right at the tail end of the season. Hopefully, everyone's been able to catch their breath since the season was over. Or it's never really over, but since it slowed down,
sure.
But because we had to move it, we had to limit it too. So we don't have the same room. That room is already reserved. So we have, and it's actually kind of cool, Matt. So it's like a, I don't know what you call it, like a teaching theater. You know what I mean? Like what you'd see in a college campus where it's stadium style seating. It's actually going to be perfect for what we do. I think no one's going to have a bad seat. Everyone's visible, everyone can see what's being talked about. But because of that, we're limited to 50 people. So we can only have 50. Technically it's 60, but we've got speakers coming with guests, limiting it to 50 people coming to learn. So if you'd like to come and you want to build your business and better yourself again, and be in the room when we're having these kinds of conversations after the event, right? Where we're just sitting around, just talking business afterwards. If you want to be involved with that, you need to sign up. Braden, link is in the description. The link's coming right up. I usually check the description, but me and Matt got into a very good conversation. So link's coming up. But register to come because we're capping it at 50 people. Same place you came last year. It's at the same place, the DoubleTree Hotel. It's a nice facility. Everything can be done all in one site, to where if you just get to the facility, if you get to the DoubleTree Hotel, you're in like Flynn. They have shuttles to the airport, the whole thing. But the second part of this that Kenny's talking about is we want to sponsor a veteran to come because it's going to be over Veterans Day. So we want to sponsor a veteran to come and be a part of the training. So someone who is new in the business or has thought about starting the business, something like that, we're looking, but cost is an issue. Now, we don't charge for the event because we don't want to limit access to the educational content, where a lot of times financial, ticket cost is a means of just weeding people out. We want everyone to be able to come. But Kenny brought up this point that travel expense could be a prohibiting factor. Even though we're not charging for the event, traveling, room and board, I mean, the rooms are reasonable, but they still cost something, right? Yep. So we're going to sponsor someone to come. We're going to sponsor a veteran to come to the event, be there the whole time. We're going to sponsor so we, being like the training group, right, are sponsoring someone, their travel, the room and board, that sort of thing. If you know someone that would like to come, reach out to one of us to myself or to Matt or to Kenny Dugan or Stain Steel or Expert Professional Wood Care Products team. Reach out to us and say, I know so-and-so would love to be there, but they just can't make it happen financially. Let us know because we would like to make that happen.
And I'm telling you,
it's on the veterans too.
It's so valuable to be at things like this. And this is a great one because other than your cost of getting there, your time commitment, it's surrounding yourself with good people. And I love it. I think it's great.
So the deal we work out with the facility is, so we stain their fence, right? We stain a portion of their fence for free. They give us the meeting room and they give us lunch for 2 days. It's a sandwich, a cold cut sandwich meal, but sandwich, chips, drinks, the whole thing, because we come and stain the fence. So you're not paying for lunch. Your lunch is covered. Dinner. So usually there's a dinner expense between Thursday, Friday. So if you can swing a dinner. Now, there's a restaurant on site. There's also right across the street is an Applebee's, a Culver's, and of course with DoorDash and the likes now, anything accessible.
If you can't afford the dinner, all you have to do is sit next to Joe or myself or anybody like that, because we always pick up the bill anyhow, because that's we want to do that.
That has been known to happen. That happened last year, actually. Yep. Well, because you still want people in the room, right? Because I know the conversations that are going to be had at that dinner table, and it's just going to happen organically. And I want everyone to have a seat at the table.
Yeah, that's good stuff. I love it. Absolutely love it.
Guys, for more information, check out the link. Let's see. It is in the description now. Check out the link in the description. If you're listening on the podcast, find this YouTube episode, youtube.com/Joe Everest. There is a playlist for live Q&As. Find today's. Today is technically September the 10th, irregardless of when you're listening to it. So check the description in that particular video.
It's going to be good. It's not just hands-on training either. There's all kinds of stuff. And I'm actually writing a new speech just for it.
Are you really?
Yeah.
So excited for this. So we're trying to come up with, I say we're trying. So the last couple of years, we've been talking about renaming the satellite trainings. Well, we're also talking about renaming the big master event in Nashville, because Staining University captures that. We're going to talk about staining, where there's going to be hands-on training on how to stain and what to stain with. Kenny Dugan does a great job talking about cleaning a fence and what to clean it with. But there's also the business talk. There's also the business side of it, right? Where you'll talk about company culture. We're also going to roll in the financial reports to what you should be looking at, irregardless of what size company you're running. I enjoy talking about marketing and just how to market yourself and get yourself in front of future clients. So there is a sustaining aspect of it, but there's also kind of the business growth aspect of it too. So we're trying to find a name that, kind of embodies both of those sides. And we've come up with a few, but they are lengthy, and we're trying to get it nailed down, get it really concise. All right. Steve Patton says, good morning from Louisville, Kentucky. Good morning, Steve. On a job doing job site videos. Fantastic. Is there a preference between using iPhone or GoPro? Thanks. Love the show. I don't. Braden's our video extraordinaire. Braden, would you have an opinion on I'm assuming current-ish iPhone, like within the last few generations, or a GoPro?
Honestly, iPhone's probably a little bit better.
So Braden's saying iPhone will probably look a little bit better, and it's a little bit easier to shoot with, right? We use some GoPros. They're pretty straightforward on how they run, but you use your iPhone daily. Like, exactly where to go for the settings and all that. Where on the GoPro, if you want to change resolution, you got to hunt for it a little bit. I don't know. We use both, but iPhones are really, really good. Of course, they just announced the new iPhone, which Apple has this way of doing this where they'll introduce the new iPhone. They're like, this is the best. It's not like all that other stuff we sold you before. This one's got better resolution and better processor. I got the last one. I'm like, I don't know. That resolution, though, it's really good. Wait a minute. They told me that about this one. They're like, this is the one you need. All that other stuff is trash. They're really good at it, is what I'm saying.
That's awesome. I do like Apple.
I like how it works with everything. I mean, we're an Apple office. We right now we're broadcasting from a Mac Mini. I've got a MacBook Pro, and we just like Macs because it all talks together so well.
Right.
I understand you can make other things talk together. Okay. But this stuff does it really well.
Right.
I think they've figured that part of it out. So, Steve, to answer your question, I'd say use your iPhone. Here's the thing. If you have both, I would actually recommend using both. Multiple angles always make for better content and give you a few more options on which to use. If you had to choose one, the iPhone is how I'd go. Ken says, I got it.
The photo.
Ken, you got the photo. Okay.
I was the photo of him and I over there in Ireland.
Got it. Okay. I was getting ready to wonder what Ken's got. You leave the door open there a little bit, Ken. I mean, you know anything about Ken? Well, anyway. Also, Braden dropped the link in the description for the event in Springfield, Missouri, hosted by Ozark Fence. We're also going to have an open house the day before. So we did this last year, and it went really well. So Wednesday, not mandatory or anything, but we're going to open up. We're going to have lunch catered in. It's going to be like a contractor, what do we call this? Like a thank you to the contractors that buy from us. A contractor appreciation. But we also open it up to anybody. Like if you're here a day early for the Standing University, come over. We'll be chatting about fence. We'll be giving tours of the facility, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, Matt, I got an ethics question for you.
Yeah.
So it's funny how these things come in waves. So I was told two different stories. And these are two separate events from two different parts of the country, but they revolve around the same theme. First was a guy's employees were approached at a home improvement store. Like they're picking up materials from it, the store doesn't matter, but at a facility picking up job materials. Those guys were approached by another company's foreman who said, hey, listen, if you guys are looking for better work, more consistent work, you can imagine we're a better company. We pay more. You'll like it way more over here. Here's my card. Gave him a card and said, if you're ever unhappy over there, just give me a call. We can probably get you started on Monday. What are your thoughts on that kind of scenario?
Well, first of all, we have a strict rule around here: no poaching. Because I even get, now that our companies are all growing, I get within the companies wanting to poach. Say, hey, you should come over here and do this, or you should come over here and join the residential crew, or hey, you know, the travel crew makes more money, you should come join the travel crew. So that I get some of that even going on within. So we've kind of took a hard stance of, if somebody's unhappy and going to go somewhere else, then we want to talk to them.
Yeah.
That's one thing. But to blatantly poach, and I'm very flattered. We get, a lot of our guys get asked a lot, but we don't lose. And one of the questions I often ask when I'm doing my culture talk is how many of your top guys would leave for you for a 10% increase in pay or more time off? And if your answer isn't 0, then you have some work to do. I mean, I think ours is 0, and we are still working on culture. So if you have good enough culture, you shouldn't have to worry about poaching.
Sure.
But man, that is voodoo for us. We do not allow it. I tell our people, I don't even, matter of fact, I don't know if I have a fence guy in the entire company that was a fence guy before they came here. Mostly because we like to train them the way we want it done. And you know, teaching an old dog new tricks isn't always the way to do things. But I did have a crew that was in Colorado, and they were just miserable, and they seeked us out. They were going to go somewhere no matter what. So we did hire them, but we did not seek them out. They seeked us out. And
so
there's a fine line there.
And that's exactly how that was my response, was like, listen, that's the line, right? Yeah. You don't approach them, but if you are approached, you can have the conversation, right? But I don't like the look of approaching others, no matter where it is. I mean, period.
So I'll tell you this, Joe. One time, I had a guy come in and apply, and I recognized him. And so I went out in the hallway there, and I said, hey, don't you work at Hamilton Equipment? And which Karsten, my good friend, is the owner of Hamilton Equipment. That's who we buy our Bobcats from.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, he goes, but I'm miserable there. I'm looking for something different. I came right back to my office. I grabbed my phone. I called up Karsten, and I said, hey, you got a young man that's in here that's not happy. I want you to know he's here applying. We are not going to hire him because I don't want to take your guys.
Yeah.
But you should have a one-on-one with him. Now, that kid's still back there because Karsten didn't realize what was going on. He was kind of getting a little bit shifted around in the shop and treated poorly by a few guys. And I think they actually ended up getting rid of one of the upper guys. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. But I also think that if somebody comes to apply, you should call your buddy and say, hey, listen, they're applying here. And you know what? He might say, well, we just can't make him happy. He does a good job. You should hire him. And I've heard that before, but I'm very transparent. I want to be able to lay my pillow on my head and know that I've never screwed anybody over. I've never taken advantage of a human. I'm giving all my heart to make sure that we are a giving, Christ-minded company.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's like, to your point, I think that's where you draw the line. If someone comes in totally unhappy, it is what they're going somewhere, probably.
Yep.
Right now, that situation you said is a little bit different because you knew where they're coming from. But if it's somebody I don't know and someone comes to me and says, "Listen, I'm leaving. I'm going somewhere else. I'd like to come here." All right, well, we can have that conversation, but approaching them is what draws the line.
Right.
I feel like.
Bingo. Yeah.
That's scenario one.
Big no.
I agree. Scenario 2 is a little bit deeper. So scenario 2 is so company A's employees are working on company A's job site, or customer A's company's job site. Company B, owner of company B, goes onto that job site to approach company A's employees, and basically the same thing. Like, I know what they pay, I pay more. Like, there's some other things that came into it too, and understand, I've heard one side of this story. You know what I mean? So I heard company A's side of this story, but essentially it's the same, right? So they were approached, but this time it's not by a foreman. So in the first scenario, owner of these two companies get together, and the guy's like, hey, listen, I don't like that your people approach my people. Right. I don't care where it is. I don't care. Owner says to owner, absolutely done. I'm going to have that conversation. That's out of line. I wouldn't want your people to do that to me. I'm not going to do it to you. This is squashed. Scenario 2 is a little bit different because it's owner of company B approaching employees of company A on a job site of company A. That is really different, I feel like.
Holy cow. That's pretty gutsy.
Yeah.
I don't know. That Jiminy Cricket voice in the back of your head should be going off. If you're that desperate, I mean, I just don't understand that. I can't justify any way that I would ever do that, but
I agree.
There's a lot of mean people out there, but I do think there's 10 times more good people than bad.
Sure. And this scenario came up as an ethics question. So it was asked if an industry organization that both these companies were a member of had like ethics standards.
Yeah.
It's a good question. That's a good question. So then I had reached out to somebody on the board of this industry. And so I guess the question is going to go to the board of like, hey, listen, we do have code of conduct, right? Like, as businesses that are members of this, there is a code of conduct here. Do we, without naming names, do we put out a response that says, in this scenario, this is wrong, right? Like, we know this is wrong, but as an industry organization, we're saying like this is absolutely wrong, which is probably one of the reasons that these organizations exist. I feel like to maybe give feedback and guidance on questions like this.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, I think it's important that when we're a part of a AFA I belong to some different groups of stuff and mentor groups. I think it's important that we're honest with each other and say, you know what, you crossed the line there and that shouldn't have been done. But I don't think, I think that's sad when that stuff happens, but I'm sure it does. And you know what, though, if you're doing a really good job of housekeeping, of taking care of your family, that you shouldn't have to worry about people poaching, and it should flatter you a little bit when they are.
Yeah. Well, and that was how this got brought up, was they're like, so no one ended up getting poached, but so the foreman of the crew that got approached came to the owner and said, hey, listen, I need to let you know that this happened. Just so you know that it happened. You don't hear from anybody else that drove by and saw this conversation and think it was something sketchy. Right. I'm going to tell you the whole thing. Now, the owner of company A called the owner of company B and is like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is not right. You know, and company B said, hey, listen, that's the old way of thinking. And, old dogs can get out of the way for new dogs if they want to. But, the whole, like, you don't approach my people is old school, and it's not, it's not the way things happen now. And I feel like there's a reason that's why things were done like that in the past too.
Yeah.
There's generally a reason why these unspoken rules are there, just because it avoids conflict.
Absolutely. Yep.
But I wanted to have this conversation because this had come up, within the last couple of weeks. And I thought, like, I know a voice out there that I could talk to that I had a feeling I knew where your head was at on there, but just and we can start having this conversation as an industry, like as we're making this a professional industry, or as we're trying to be recognized as a professional industry. we also need to act professionally.
Absolutely.
Right? Like that is one of the things we should probably be doing.
Yep.
And there's a difference between recruiting and your term poaching.
Yeah.
Like there's absolutely a difference. Now,
Yeah.
go out and find them. Now, if you put out some marketing and you host a job fair lunch and you do all that and they come in and they eat your food and they want to talk to you about working there, that's different.
Hey,
Different.
we've been on a hiring spree like crazy. I think in the last 2 months we've hired almost 15 people. So we've really been putting it, and I think we've got 3 or 4 more starting in the next couple of weeks. So
that's an interesting point to make too, Matt, is I feel like the labor market is starting to turn.
Yeah.
We went through a drought in terms of an employment market. I feel like that ship's turning around. I feel like there's more people that are applying and that are hireable, that you could see working in the business. There's more of that. And there's just I feel like more people are coming back to the workforce for whatever reason.
Yeah. We've had good luck. Our last round so we do 60 days before you can get any benefits. Mm-hmm. And I think Melanie said 11 out of the last 12 that we did a 60-day stuck. So that's a record number. Normally, if we have 12, we only do 3 or 4 60-day reviews. So it's good. It's also, sometimes you just have to be patient too, because they're out there. You just got to keep looking. And I think one, you always have to be recruiting good people, and you have to be looking for good people. And no matter where you're at, what you're doing, if you see a server that's really, really doing a great job of taking care of the table, and you want to give them your business card and say, hey, if you are ever looking for something else to do, I've got a spot in my office that I would love to have. You should be doing that. But I don't think that's poaching. I think that's saying, hey, if you're looking to grow your opportunity or whatever, give me a call. Let's talk. But it's also a compliment to young people when they're busting their tail.
So I listen to this guy named Tommy Mello. He's in the garage door space. He's just a giant in the garage door space. And he keeps a specific business card on him at all times. And basically on one side is his standard business name, company name, contact information. But on the back, it says something to the effect of, I recognize good service when I see it. You are providing exceptional service. And basically, to your point, if you ever want to have a conversation, present this card, and I will stop what I'm doing to have that conversation.
That's awesome.
And he just passes them out. Like that is great. That is awesome. Great.
I love it.
But no, to your point about poaching, my ultimate thought there is the one that poaches and the one that is poached probably deserve each other.
That is very true. Yeah.
But the fact that it's going on at all is probably not ideal. It is. It's an ethical thing. It really, especially on the job site, that's
crossing the line. Yeah.
Agreed. Hey, good. Matt, you want to watch this week's coming video? The video that we've got coming up next or on Monday, right? Yep. Monday. All right, here we go. Now this is all Braden. I'll just let you guys know that. Yeah, no. I'm telling you, Braden's in the background going, well, you don't have to say that. I get no. Give credit where credit's due.
Okay, so today I'm going out with the install crew, which means we're getting up bright and early to beat the heat, get out there and just get going. So it's a little after 6 right now. Got in the office, got things ready, and now we're heading out. Should be installing some pickets. I believe the posts already are on the ground, so we're just installing pickets today and a few gates. Yeah, should be fun. Take you along with us, and hopefully there's some good stuff for you guys.
So this is what, at like 6:30 or so? 6:30? Yeah. So Braden usually, and listen, I'm going to give credit where it's due. Braden's usually here. It's like 8:30, right? Because he works later in the evening. His start time's usually 8. So he's here. What time were you here? 5:30 or so? So we pitched. He's been wanting to go out with a crew. He's like, I want to go. I want to film. We're like, yeah, but they get started pretty early. Like they're leaving at 6 sort of thing. Like, yeah, no, that's fine. No problem. What time do I need to be here? And Scott, the crew chief, was like, well, probably about 5:30. Yeah, no problem.
Wow. That's awesome.
Thumbs up for sure. So I'll make one note here too. Me and Braden was like, listen, these guys talk, right? Like they usually talk between each other. Like, oh, when the camera's not there, they probably do. Like I know these guys. I know for a fact they do. I've worked with them, but it's funny. You get a camera show up and everyone's like, I don't have a speaking role in this video. So this is a battery powered chainsaw. Scott brought this back. Now he has a circular saw. So here I am going to go ahead and like predict some of the comments that are going to come when this goes public on YouTube. Every time someone sees us cut these with a chainsaw, like, well, why don't you use a circular saw? Because Scott wants to use a chainsaw. Like I don't. He's got. You're going to see him here in a little bit. Use a circular saw. He has it. He wants, but the battery chainsaw is where it's at for him for this particular task. The music is just fantastic.
That thing looks kind of handy.
Save a lot of time.
So with that, I don't know that we talk about what these two jigs are, but basically you set your top line to make sure your top line, the flow is exactly how you want it. And these are just two pieces of 1.5 inch square tubing that hold the rails at the exact correct height based on the top line of where that top 2x4 is at. So they always flow together. See, he does have a circular saw. He knows how to use it. He has full access to it. We do not restrict the use of circular saws. The reason there's music over this, though, is it is silent on this job site. There is no, which is unusual. Like usually these guys are chatting back and forth.
Why'd you leave this gap?
Well, the gap has to be either on this end or this end.
Gotcha.
You don't want it on the clean end. That's just right where your eye's going to be.
Yeah. So you just cut a small piece for there.
Yeah, cut a small piece and probably put a spacer on it.
So the rest of the fence pretty much went up without a hitch. No issues there. Cody and Bueller continued working on pickets while Scott started the double gate that was on the south side of the house. More cutting, more pickets, more driving things into the ground. Everything was finally starting to come together. And Bueller decided to pour water on his head because why not?
It was actually really hot. This is a couple weeks ago. It was really hot. Oh, was it not?
No, that's why we're like, so I think Scott was like, pour water on your head, so he just did it. It wasn't that hot at all.
So it was for the video.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
good.
wasn't that hot.
This is something you'll find, Matt. Like as you guys start creating more and more videos, you'll figure out who likes being on the videos
And who doesn't? Yeah.
and who doesn't. Yeah. Yeah.
The guys are able to finish up with a nice long, easy stretch of the fence, as you can see here. I really enjoyed seeing how they got it done and how efficient they were. Hopefully you guys enjoy it too. If you do, let us know in the comments below.
Great video.
Well, so Braden stepped up to do the talking heads because he asked me yesterday. He's like, "Hey, you're going to have time to do talking heads, right?" Or no, he asked me Thursday. Like, "Oh yeah, no, I have hardly anything on my calendar for tomorrow. Like, I'll be able to do talking heads for sure." Well, one thing led to the other. We're doing site visits. So Friday, I typically do site visits with Scott for the jobs he's doing the next week. Just make sure there's no questions or anything like that. And then I had a buddy take me to lunch for my birthday, and then at the wire weaving facility. So we're epoxying the floors. We're going to get them sealed so that it keeps cleanup easier. But they were supposed to be there around 1:30. It was actually closer to 3. And then I was throwing out the first pitch of the ball game, so I knew we had to be there at a certain time. And anyway, next thing you know is today, and Braden got to do the voiceovers. So
Nice.
Did a very good job.
Very good.
Okay, that's another one done. Wrapped up, went really smoothly, went faster than we thought it would. So easy peasy, another one in the books. Thanks for watching.
Hey, what's up, Jamal? What are you doing up here? Oh, nothing much, Matt. What are you doing? Oh, I'm just hanging out. You gonna tell him about the secret code word or what? I guess you could tell him though. What is it? It's pecan.
So today
I love that so much.
That's awesome.
So last night, Eric was trying to tell me, he was trying to describe to me, well, and actually, I thought he was describing that scene to me. Spoiler alert, there's another one coming next week that they were filming. I was like, I like also that I'm seeing like different sides of my guys' personalities.
Yeah.
I never knew Jamal existed. Apparently, Jamal exists, you
That's
know?
awesome.
Are going to box up and ship to Amazon a bunch of inch and 5 sleeves. Top row. Gets 4 to a pack. We've kind of shown how the L-bar works a little bit before, but throw these guys in here. Ready. Voila. And into the heat tunnel you go.
This heat tunnel is cool, Matt. Like it is.
Yeah,
I've played with this toy a lot.
Catch.
It just shrinks that right up.
Through the magic of filming, we have all of these done. So this are going to go into these magical baggies here. Each one of these gets thrown into a bag. And then we have, through trial and error.
That explains why we have a half hour of cleanup every day before everyone goes home.
Figured out how many of these will go into a specific size box to reach our weight, because Amazon, when we ship to Amazon, there's a weight limit, 50 pounds. After we get everything back,
If it is 50.5 pounds, it's an additional $45 to handle that package.
Oh my.
So we keep our packages at about 48 pounds. That way
Nice.
there's no difference between our scales and their scales.
bagged up. Next is labels. This right here. If you can
It's
see
a
that.
label.
It's a label, yeah. Says this is a set, do not separate. That way the people at Amazon will not open it, and it will all stay in packs of 4. There's also a suffocation warning. That way you won't choke and die. So this is a new item that we haven't sold through Amazon before. So we got to make the weight, the length, width, height, and all that. Input that so Amazon knows. It's what Amazon will scan when they get it in. Fancy Rolo printer.
Wow.
First try.
First try, every time. So on each one of these, we'll
How many tries was it actually? 3 tries, yeah. Yeah, that machine is not, it's particular. Yeah, first
the
try.
label. Whenever somebody buys it from us, Amazon will go, they'll scan this, and this will say, hey, this is what they ordered. Basically, this, they don't look to see if it's right. This tells them what it's right. So if this is wrong, the customer is unhappy. So we take.
And that is the voice of experience speaking. Because we, in the very beginning, when we were running really fast and we hadn't learned a thing or two. We were running, it was like 2 3/8 and 3-inch tension bands. We're 10 packs of each. Labels for one order got put on the other order. So we had a lot of negative feedback on Amazon for just a little bit. We ended up recalling it all back and relabeling it. But yeah, they don't, because think about it, like a worker at Amazon is not going to look at it and go, hey, that doesn't look like the thing. They scan it, it tells them it's the thing, and they send it.
Right.
Get the boxes, regular tape. Amazon doesn't get the cool tape. That's for customers only.
So he's referencing, we've got a tape machine, Matt, where it'll, when you pull it and cut it, it rolls out Ozark fence tape.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Amazon doesn't get that.
That's super cool.
Because Amazon doesn't care. They're going to torch these boxes anyway. Well, I'm sure they recycle them.
Like a glove. And then I leave, and then when I come back, it's gone. I'm ashamed. We got to ship it through us. Okay, so this is for Amazon to scan. This will tell them what's in the box. This is for UPS to scan. Joliet, Illinois. That's the Midwest distribution center, I guess.
That's probably where 98% of our packages goes, Joliet.
No kidding.
Yeah, so one of those labels is a 3D barcode. So it's just a three-dimensional barcode. And if they scan it, it will give them the exact contents of that box.
Wow.
So before, they would have a 2D barcode and it didn't have as much information. So they'd scan it, but it didn't give them all the information. Then they'd have to open it and scan each individual item to check it in. Now, if they scan a 3D barcode, it checks it in immediately.
Wow. That is super cool.
It took 4 or 5 days off of the check-in process.
I don't really know. That's Jeff Bezos. Voila. This one's ready to go out, and Joe will take it after work to Rapid Ship in Republic. They're great. They ship all of our stuff out for the most part. And it'll be shipped to Amazon.
I'm glad he didn't go on his tirade against UPS. UPS has I'm sure he did. Yeah, this is the edited version of this conversation. We have, and I don't know, they're like independent stores. They're not UPS stores, but they're UPS stores is the name of the store. They're like loosely affiliated. Ours here are not great. They are just not fantastic. But
I do love the UPS guy.
What's that?
Our UPS guys become like our family friend.
Well, so that's the tough part is it's not UPS. Like these are independent stores.
Oh, right.
And so I feel like this is going to become a problem for UPS, the company, because there's 3 of these stores in town and they're all awful to deal with. Whereas the UPS drivers, fantastic people. I feel like they are really good people, but no.
Please.
That is the video. That's
awesome.
Come out Monday afternoon.
That is so cool, man. You have figured out a lot. I had no idea. That's pretty cool.
Well, it's all trial and error. That's the thing is it's all figuring it out. We're still figuring it out. We're still trying to figure out marketing on the Amazon platform because that is a massive thing. So we're getting really good sales. Like we average 1,400 or 1,500 sales a month on the platform. But how do you grow it?
Right.
Well, you can do Amazon ads and you can do Amazon coupons and you can do whatever. So we're still trying to figure that out. I don't know.
That's crazy. It's awesome.
Alan said, once you guys iPad, so this is talking about Mac stuff. Once you guys iPad Pro, game changing. I've been working off iPhone and PC. Yep, I agree. Roger's got a question. Are those wood posts? They are wood posts. We have been offering wood posts for a little while. We got off our high horse. We were on the it can only be steel bandwagon for quite a while. But customers want options. And we were told that many, many times. I'm selling a house next year. I don't really want to invest cedar materials. So what that was cedar pickets, cedar rails on pine posts. It's one of the options. We do a good, better, best. Good pine materials all the way. Pickets, rails, posts. Better, cedar pickets, rails, pine post. Best, cedar pickets, rails, steel posts, steel postmaster post. But because here's the thing, this is a psychology thing, Matt. When you're going to go buy something, you typically want to see 3 or 4 options to feel like you've made an educated decision. Now, if I only give you one option, you're likely going to go to a few more people to get more options.
Yep.
So you could feel like you made an educated decision. Now, if I give you 3 options, you may not go outside. You may not get other bids because you feel like you've gotten 3 options. And
Right.
so those were wood posts, Roger. We do offer wood posts. Now, we have a conversation about lifespan and the fact that they are not warranted, where the steel posts do carry a warranty. We do workmanship warranty. We do lifetime workmanship warranty on all the fences we install, period. But most of the things that are going to happen to a pine post are not, they're not workmanship issues. They are product issues. And as long as the customer is okay knowing that this is an 8 to 10 year product, reasonably, it used to be, and we can debate how long a treated pine post will last, and it depends by region. Here, 8 to 10 years is kind of what we're seeing with the current treatment, the ACQ, MCQ variants. But yeah. Alan says the jig you have for your rails is pretty awesome, simple, and effective. I agree. It's similar to Sean King's got a tool called the X-Man, similar to that in that it will hold. Now, the X-Man actually holds all of your rails, and it's dependent on your post height. So once you set your post height, all your rails follow in. This is just a little bit different. It's what we've used for as long as I can remember. When I was a kid working on the nail crew, on the finish crew, we always ever had these things. Braden, Alan says, awesome video. Alan, Braden gives you the thumbs up. Good. Yeah, good, better, best. It is a legitimate psychological thing. And so I listened to enough podcasts on sales that like this kept reverberating. You got to give 3 options because somebody wants. And so then I started evaluating my purchasing decisions, right? So I'd go on, like when we went to Destin, I got on Airbnb and I looked at 3 or 4 different houses and I did compare on square footage and this and that. I didn't pick the first house I saw. Now, the house I picked was probably actually second choice. The first choice is a little spendy for what it was, and you didn't get that much closer to the beach anyway.
Yep.
But my point being, if you're gonna make a decision that's going to cost $8,000 to $10,000, and that's kind of our average wood fence right now is $8,000 to $10,000.
Yep.
You're going to look at some options. You're going to want to look at some options. So now these customers. We're really active with our local zoo. For our market, it is an amazing zoo for what they offer and just the facility. So Ozark Fence sponsors the giraffes. This is kind of a neat story. It's more of a personal story, but so the giraffes are kind of an easy walk down. They're like down a shallow hill. They're some of the first animals you get to. So when Taylor was pregnant with Jackson, Macy would always want to go to the zoo. Like the kids love the zoo. They get to see animals. Yeah. Well, so they'd walk around, but as Taylor's pregnancy progressed, like she wasn't trying to make the 4-mile hike all through here, right? So they'd go down the hill, they'd feed the giraffes, they'd sit on the bench and just watch the giraffes for a while. And you can buy like lettuce to feed them and stuff like that. Yeah. And so, so our zoo set up a little bit different. It's a part of the larger parks department. So it's the baseball, it's the soccer, it's the this field to that field, the frisbee tennis. It's all in the zoo, right? So they're all sharing the same budget. So yeah, it's whatever the parks have. Yeah, the park has like frisbee tennis. What are they? They're not tennis, golf. Frisbee golf. Yeah. Not golf. Yeah. Fair point. Yeah, Brady's like, what is frisbee tennis? I bet it's gonna be the next new sport now. And I said it here first, folks. But anyway, they have budget restrictions, right? And so they're having issues with growing and maintaining and all that. So, and I really like the park because my kids like the park and they keep it affordable because they're part of the parks department. Anyway, so we were talking, I was like, hey, we want to help. How can we help? And he said it kind of facetiously. He's like, I don't know, you can like sponsor one of the animals if you want to. Okay. Yeah, we could probably. He's like, well, wait a minute. So the two people that sponsor animals are like Mizzou. So of course they sponsor the Tigers. And then who else? Missouri State sponsored the Bears because they're the Bears.
Right.
Like that's who sponsors animal. Like just putting it out there. Like, oh, well, what does that look like? You know, like could we talk about it? And he threw out a number. So he goes, well, what animals would you want to sponsor? Like, I want to sponsor the giraffes. I want to sponsor it because Jackson's been going there since before he was born to go hang out with the giraffes. And my daughter has these memories of going to the giraffes with my wife. Like that was like arguably the summer. So Jackson was born in July. That was the summer that like the last summer that Macy and Taylor like had together.
That's
you know,
awesome.
after that it was always with Jackson. So anyway, lots of memories of the giraffes. So I was like, I want to sponsor the giraffes. He's like, ugh. Let me give you some numbers on what it looks like because those animals.
Yeah, they eat a lot.
They eat a lot, and they got medical expenses. Now, we don't pay for everything, right? But he gave me a number that was so every time I always try to guess the number before. I'm like, what is it going to be? Like, what do I think this is going to cost? He brought in a number that was way under that number, like the number I had guessed. So, and he goes, listen, he goes, I know it's a big number, but like there's expenses and all that. I was like, oh, yeah. Okay. He goes, and we'll split it into multiple payments throughout the year. Like we'll try to make it like, oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep. That sounds right. Sounds good. He goes, and we're going to put plaques out in front of each side. There's two sides of the exhibit to show that you sponsor it. Like we're going to really do this right. You had me at the number.
Right.
Like, but I will take the other stuff too. Like
That's
I will
awesome.
definitely do that. So that's a really long story on, we enjoy supporting the zoo. The job we just did in that video was the lady. Were you giving me a sign? Time. Oh yeah. Time. We're getting there. I was afraid I was like not supposed to say something, but so this lady is like the I don't know about PR person is not the correct term, but she's our public outreach person for the zoo. So she called and she was only going to have us do it because she knows that we support the zoo. We're big proponents of the zoo, but she wanted to see options, right? She said, hey, what's the range? Like, are we talking, her words were like, I want to see the Chevy and the Mercedes of what this fence is going to be. And that kind of solidified in my mind, like we do need to offer options, right? If I just told her a price, she would have been wondering like, is there more or is there less? So I say there's 3 bids. I guess there's actually 4 because on the cedar materials, we'll also offer to pre-stain them. We give that option on all of them. We will, and you can choose not to do it. That's totally fine. But some people want the Mercedes. They want the Cadillac. They want the nicest, what they can afford. Some people are saying, I'm trying to move in a year and I've got kids and my neighbor has dogs. So I'm just trying to keep these things out of the yard.
Yep.
Now, if we sat up on our high horse and we said, no, sir, we only do cedar on steel and it's got to be pre-stained because I know that's the best fence. They say, okay, well, that's nice, but that's not what I'm going to go to, brand Z over here. And because they will give me what I want.
Yep.
So that's why we do the good, better, best. And I'm spending some time on this because I beat the drum for quite a while that it is cedar on steel, period. But maybe this is a good lesson on you need to reevaluate sometimes. All right, we are getting close to getting out of time. I want to say hi to a couple of people. Divine Fence says, hey, Joe and Matt and Fence fam. Burn the boat. That is a good reference to Standing University 2 years ago.
Yep.
I think you gave the burn the boat. I like that so much. Luis Martinez has a quick question. I installed a fence last year, but didn't stain it. What stain do you recommend? I would like to introduce you to Expert Professional Wood Care Products. It used to be called Stain Steel Experts. I've used Expert Professional Wood Care Products since before they were a sponsor. They sponsor because I use them. We use them as a company. I tried samples of multiple different stains. I was concerned about the chemical smell. I've got young kids. My neighbors have young kids. I was concerned about putting chemicals in and around the yard that I wasn't super safe with or wasn't super comfortable with. Stain Steel Experts sent a sample, and ever since then, I've been using it. It's a really safe formula. It's low VOCs, which I'm concerned about with young kids. And my neighbors have young kids and they have pets and all. Listen, if you've met my 5-year-old, you'll know if I stain my fence, he's going to put his hand on that and he's going to go hand paint the rest of the fence, right? Some I'm concerned with. So we started using Expert Professional Wood Care products, and we continued because it is a legitimately really good product. So that is who I would recommend. Do some independent research. I'd recommend it, but I would start with Expert Professional Wood Care and then see what else is out in the market. I think you'll see that they're for the quality of the stain they provide, they're priced appropriately. All right. Burn the boat, Alan says. Burn the boat indeed. Tailgate Carpenter is checking in to say hi. Well, Tailgate Carpenter, you can check in and say hi, and you're also checking in and say goodbye because you'll be the last comment of the day. Matt?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, man. I always enjoy hanging out with you, and it seems like you always say that I'm your mentor, but really I think we learn from each other so much. I just enjoy it, and I'm super excited about some of the announcements of things that are coming up, and including going to Springfield. I think that's going to be a great event. So I'm excited that we get to opportunity to maybe sponsor a veteran and all that. So I think it's good, man. Thank you so much for having me.
I appreciate your friendship and your mentorship because and so that's kind of one of the relationships. That's the best kind of relationship, right? The one that's win-win for both. But I honestly feel like I get more out of it than I give. So that's why I'm saying thank you, because I really do appreciate it. And for those of you watching at home, thank you for taking the time. For those of you listening on the podcast, thank you for taking the time to listen to this. It really does mean a lot to us. Mark it on your calendars. AFA, Fence Tech, Operation Stampede. That's all you need to know. There's also other cool stuff going on, but Operation Stampede is what you'll want to come for. Matt, thank you so much. I do appreciate your time.
Thank you,
guys. I'll see you guys next week. I'm Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors. I'll see you next time.